Any idea how a surrogate's head would explode from the inside?
Mr. Welch isn't qualified to answer that question.
What did the operators say?
Not much. They're dead.
If you're trying to imply a link between VSI products and an operator's accidental death...
I'm not implying anything. I just want to know how an operator can be killed by signals from a surrogate.
The idea itself is absurd. If it were possible, it would defeat the entire purpose of surrogacy.
Surreys have jumped from bridges, been shot, even blown to bits without the least bit of harm to their operators. The fail-safes always kick in.
I can assure you, VSI's products have the most stringent safety standards in the industry.
What about a human head? What would cause one of them to blow up?
Agent Greer, we're not doctors.
Honey, I don't know what you are. I mean, for all I know, you could be some big fat dude sitting in a stim chair with his dick hanging out.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Movie Oblivion, the podcast about feature films based on comic books and comic strips that people have stopped talking about. We are your hosts, Jordan and Kumar, that's me.
And me.
And this week we're talking about The Surrogates from 2009.
It's just Surrogates. The comic is...
You're right. It is just called Surrogates, that's right.
Want to do it again?
Why didn't they call it The Surrogates? No, I suppose Surrogates is better.
The something is a bit...
You're right. It's a specific 5 of them. These 5 of them. Yeah. Okay. We do need to pause the podcast this week, actually, because this is a detective narrative with a couple of twists and turns. It's a mystery. So we're going to spoil both the comic from 2005 and the movie from 2009.
Yep. Neither of which you're ever going to see.
I don't know about that. Okay. Some people might see the movie, but
does that Venn diagram overlap with people that listen to the podcast?
That's a good question. But I will say that some of the twists are a little bit different in each as well. So they're both going to be spoiled. So make your own call.
Care about the comic.
If you're ever planning on watching the movie, then maybe put off the podcast.
Yeah, we will spoil the movie by discussing the comic, even though they're different.
Yeah,
won't we?
Yeah. We'll spoil them both. Yeah. Okay. There is one bit of news that I should mention, which is that we just had word that Jules Feiffer passed away.
Right.
About a week ago, I'm going to say, at this point. So this podcast wouldn't be here, really, without Jules Feiffer writing that Popeye movie. Probably wouldn't have... It wouldn't have been... That was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? That I was like, we got to do this. So, there you go.
Someone has to talk about Popeye.
That's right. That's right. That was exactly the impetus. Okay. This is originally a comic that came out between 2005 and 2006. It was 5 issues, written by somebody named Robert Venditti. I guess he writes for DC a bit and stuff as well. And drawn by somebody named Brett Weldele or Weldele. Not sure how to pronounce that. Don't know much about any other comics that he's done. He's probably a commercial illustrator or something like that. I'm not really sure. This is published by Top Shelf.
Right.
Which is a little bit unusual because they don't usually do genre stuff. I know them for publishing a lot of Alan Moore stuff, like From Hell, and I've got a bunch of Top Shelf Alan Moore books up there on the shelf. They don't normally do stuff that's like, here's a straight up cops meets robots as an elevator pitch kind of thing. So I was a bit surprised when this came out at the time. I don't know what they particularly saw in it that was like, yeah, this will fit with our catalog. But anyway, there was a sequel called Flesh and Bone, which came out in 2009, probably to capitalize on the release of the movie.
I would say so.
And then there was a 2 issues called Case Files, which came out in 2012. But for the purposes of the movie, only the first series is important.
Predates the film.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so if I haven't given it away already, so this is a cops in the future story. Hard-boiled, I'm surprised they're not eating hot dogs all the time at crime scenes. Kind of
Blade Runner.
Yep, very Blade Runner. Surprisingly Blade Runner.
Yeah.
The Dale's art style is very kind of unfinished and sketchy. He seems to spend a lot of time on the colors, though. The colors are pretty amazing. Like, he has these lightning effects sometimes that look really cool.
Some of the figures are really rudimentary sometimes.
Yes.
It almost goes beyond stylistic to just looking like he quit.
I don't know if he quit, but maybe it was
well, he didn't, obviously. But
I feel like it was like this guy's drawing a lot of comics, and you're like, okay, you got to do 5 in the next 6 months or whatever, and it's like, holy shit, how do I do this? It out. And he adopted an art style which he was able to put out 5 issues in a year, or however, however.
That seems plausible, because it almost doesn't feel like a style. It almost feels as though...
Yeah, it's like almost pencils with no inks, almost, yeah. And it's interesting, really, when we compare it to the movie, because... in the movie, everybody uses these Ken and Barbie dolls. Yeah. And that's like the point. And supposedly that is the point of the comic as well, but you don't get that from looking at the art. You only get it from the dialogue.
Well, yeah, exactly. And the only thing he can do really is make people kind of fatter.
Yes.
So everyone in real life is fat, and everyone who's a surrogate in the comic is not. And that's sort of how you can tell.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
With some exceptions, though.
Yeah. So, it takes place in 2054.
Yes.
We have a bit of world building in text pieces between the issues. Mm-hmm. So, we learned that we've had these surrogates for about 20 years, which are these robot bodies that you control by remote control from home. You put on a headpiece, some goggles, and you are operating this robot out in the world.
Yes. Telepresence.
Yes, and the robot can do your job for you. Yeah. Or you can have a completely different body. You can go out and you can have sex with your robot.
Yep. You can do everything that you would normally. And this is an important point in the comic. The only thing people use these bodies for is doing regular everyday things.
Yes.
You just do your job, but you're in a robot body.
Yeah.
You're sitting at home in your chair.
Yeah.
And you're doing your job in a robot body. You're going out to party like you normally would, and you're in your robot body. Yes. You're just going to your office job, and instead of doing your office job in your regular meat body, you're doing it in your robot body instead.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, these robots don't do anything special.
No.
They're just you.
Substitutes.
They're just substitutes for you.
Yes.
Which is odd.
It is a little bit odd, yes.
A bit, yeah, and this is one of my biggest problem with the comic is that I think that's lazy world building. If you've got a robot body, but the only thing you do is make yourself look slightly younger and go to your desk job, you're not thinking through all the possibilities that this technology represents.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we get through some of these text pieces, we learn that, for example, there have been changes to racism and sexism.
This stuff's all very half-baked, I think.
It's half-baked, and it's also pretty depressing, because, okay, so for example, with the gender stuff, they point out that now, let's say people are sexist and they want their pilot of their airplane to be a man. They don't trust a woman. Yeah. The airlines will hire a female pilot, but she's operating a male surrogate robot body.
It implies it's an individual choice. Like, when they apply for a job at the airline, they will go in a male surrogate body.
Yeah, but the airline knows it's female from the application form or whatever. But
they don't care.
In a sense, this is just like, okay, well, I mean, it's very 2025 in a sense, but it's very like, okay, we'll just accept that the world is sexist and we'll just hire male surrogate bodies to be our pilots and do all these jobs or whatever. And we also get we get this thing about, a little bit about the racism going on, which is that there's a certain politician, a white politician, who in order to get votes from the black constituents, goes around in a black surrogate body. Yeah. And then curries their favor and then gets their votes. Now, I don't buy this for a second, because it's not just skin color. It's like, how have you grown up? What have you been...
All of this is very half-baked. Yeah. Also, it has no bearing on the plot.
No, that's right.
But I agree. This is... The author of this comic is not half as clever as he thinks he is. He's just had...
He's half thought through these things. Half-baked, as you said. Twice. Half-baked, yeah.
You know, he's not thought them through. He's just got... And he also says, like, health problems have been wiped out.
Yeah.
No one has any health issues anymore. Why? Because people only smoke and drink when they're in their surrogates. Bullshit. These people don't exercise.
Yeah. They're just sitting in chairs all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get no exercise. I don't think he says there's no health issues. I think he says they're way down because communicable diseases have gone down. Like, you're not going to catch coronavirus out there. Although your Surrey is coming home. By the way, they call him Surrey, so I guess it's set in Australia. I'm not quite sure. Actually, it's set in Georgia. Another thing I want to point out is that there's a small community. This does come up in the plot. But some people have protested. A very small number of people have protested against this and believe in being true humans, and they're led by this guy named Zaire Powell, who's called the Prophet. And he's this black guy with these big dreads. Yeah. And he's always spouting biblical stuff.
He speaks only in biblical verses.
Now, okay,
he literally says nothing else.
Yeah, that's right. So this is I've got a couple of problems with this. First of all, as far as we know, there's only one of these little. So they go. There's been a riot 15 years ago, huge riots, and all the people who are against robots have gone to live in it. This is not a solution that happens in the real world. Where, for example, let's say you and I were against racism, and nobody else was, so we go live in our own little enclave.
This is a problem.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't happen in a place like America where there's a strong state. So we're supposed to believe that there were 4 days of rioting.
Yeah.
4.
Okay, yeah. 4 days of rioting.
4 days of rioting 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And to end 4 days of rioting, the mayor of the super city of Georgia, which is, it's like Mega City 1, only in Georgia, says, you can go live in your own enclave, and we'll have an agreement that you will have your own jurisdiction in that enclave, like you were a Native American tribe.
It's called a reservation. It's called Dread Reservation.
Do you know how long it took for Native Americans to get tribal sovereignty?
Yeah. Well, not only, I mean, doesn't...
It did take 4 days.
What about the rest of the United States and other countries? What's happening to the protests in those places?
The comic seems to imply that it's mostly the US that are using the surrogates, and we don't really... Because the US is the whole world. So we don't really hear about the rest of the world. Yeah, yes, okay, but even then, wouldn't there be other reservations around the US? The movie actually does have other... Well, it's because this city in Georgia... Well, this city is where the robots are built. It's where most of the robots seem to be used. It's where the reservation is. It's where everything happens. Yeah. And the rest of the world may as well not matter.
Yes, exactly.
So again, the world building, very sloppy in this comic.
Okay, now here's my other thing about it. What is your reason for hating the surrogates? Humanity or Bible verses? Not everybody is going to be convinced by Bible verses that surrogates are a bad idea.
Well, he's a cultist. And we're supposed to...
Is that enough for a whole enclave? I wouldn't form I wouldn't go to... If I was against the surrogates, I would not go listen to this guy spew biblical verses all the time. I would have my own reasons for not wanting to... For hating the surrogates, like maybe my own moral or ethical reasons, not biblical reasons, and yet that's the only reason that we're given in the comic for people being opposed. Right.
He doesn't offer any other. So I just filed that under cult. Like, these people are cultists.
Yes.
I'm not supposed to care about what they think.
Yes.
Except the comic wants us to think surrogates are bad by the end of it.
Yes. But I will say...
Which means that we're supposed to empathise with what the prophet's saying, except all he's saying is biblical verses.
Stuff. So I absolutely couldn't. But I will say, again, this is another thing that was very depressing, because imagine if, after the George Floyd protests, the government was like, okay, everybody who was against the murder of George Floyd, go live in this reservation? What kind of solution is that? It's so depressing.
It's silly.
It's silly, but it's also
I have a huge problem with it, because it just wouldn't happen. You need to take your setting out of the US, or you need to give us a bit more story as to why law and order have collapsed.
Yeah.
You could, in a weak state, there could be an enclave like this. Right?
Yeah.
Or in a hugely in a place where law and order, like in Mega City 1, where there's like 100 billion people, and the judges are the only thing that's keeping the peace. You could have an enclave where judges don't go.
Yeah.
You can't have it 20 years in the future.
Yeah.
30 years in the future.
Yeah.
It's not, and not change anything else about the setting, because people, there's very little high tech. People are just sort of doing, the film does this too, actually. There's very little high tech. People are just sort of doing regular jobs in regular cars.
Yep.
And in fact, the antagonist is remarkable because he's Iron Man and he has all this technology that regular people don't have in 2054.
Yeah.
They're all like gushing over it. Oh, wow, he's got a robot suit. You're in a robot body.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay,
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. So this is all background stuff. Now, it starts with this couple that are making out in an alley.
Yeah.
They're about to have sex. The woman kind of doesn't want to, but the man's like, we work hard for these bodies. Might as well show them off. So now we're clued into something's going on here.
Yeah.
It's
and
a
they're
bit
not talking about the gym. They're talking about...
Yeah, the money they
paid for
paid
them.
for. So this is a bit like, in one sense, it's like car ownership.
Yeah.
Owning these things. So everybody has them. But the comic's not consistent about that. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but we'll talk about the ways it's not quite like that.
Yeah, and in fact, it's not like that because... I just want to complain about the world building constantly. I don't even really care about the plot. You know, they're like cars, right?
Yeah.
They're affordable. We're told that 92% of people in the US use them.
Yeah.
That's probably comparable to the car figure, I suppose, in the US at the present, broadly speaking.
The movie, hilariously, says 98% of people in the world. That means everybody in India, Africa, the Philippines, everyone, anywhere in the world, 98%.
You've brought it up, so I got it. Do you know how many people in the world use cell phones? It's not 98%. Yeah. It's less than 70% of people in the world have a cell phone. But we're supposed to believe that 98% of people are operating one of these high technology robots.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just, people, like you said, people in like rural Turkey or something.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just,
the Bedouin tribes are all out there.
Yeah, they're
with
just
their
hanging
surrogates.
out in their tents in surrogate bodies.
Yes.
Stupid shit.
Yep. Okay, so there are a couple in the alleys making out, and then some weird high-tech dude comes up and zaps them with electricity.
He says what?
And he says, live.
Well, does he say live? Because I thought he said live. Because he's shocking them.
Right.
Maybe choose a different word.
Yeah.
That's not a
Or
homonym.
just say, you must live, or something like that.
That would have been good.
Yes.
He's literally shocking them, and it says live.
Yeah, it could be the word to activate the suit. Live.
Yeah.
It could be that.
I read it as live because I thought of live wire.
Yes,
Maybe
exactly.
pick a different word.
Yep.
One that's not a homonym.
Yep. Okay, so the cops show up to investigate these bodies. They have these surrogates have barcodes on the back of the neck.
Yeah.
So they can scan them. They have scanners and they can figure out who the owner is, like a license plate.
Yeah.
You can figure out who the owner of the car is, right?
Very good.
This is important because later on, there's a plot hole here later on in this
Absolutely
comic.
There is. There's lots of plot holes, but yeah.
Okay, now, we learn who the two operators are. Operators are the people that are home in their living rooms or whatever with the helmets on that are operating these surrogates.
Yep.
And we've got two cops on the scene. We got the young guy and the grizzled old veteran. The veteran's name is Harvey Greer.
Yep.
And it seems like he's just maybe semi-recently moved to this division or this part of town. So when he hears the names of the two operators, both the operators are men.
Yeah.
And Harvey's kind of like,
absolutely not.
Jesus, why did I move to this sector or whatever? Okay, I got to stop and unpack this big time. First of all, this is 20 years into this.
Yep.
There have to be gender swaps all the time.
All the time.
Now, my question is also, why aren't there rentals? Because day one, I'm out there renting a lady's body or some big buff dude's body. Yeah. I'm going to go into a different one every week.
Yeah.
Why is it a surprise or disgusting to this dude that this was a man operating a woman's body 20 years into this?
Yes, it's stupid. I took complete because maybe because it was written in 2005 and the author's disgusted by the idea of someone.
You know what? I think
maybe
this
he
is
got
catfished. Because this is like early Facebook, so catfishing is just like in the periphery.
He got catfished.
Or it's MMORPG kind of times where it's like, oh, that I thought I was playing with a girl, but it's a 14-year-old boy when he's playing World of Warcraft or something and was freaked out by that and has tried to project this onto this world where people are walking.
And what's more, he actually contradicts it because, as you pointed out, in those end pieces that separate the volumes, he actually talks about sexism's over.
Yes,
and yet the very first thing we get is this cop saying, "Oh, disgusting! Oh, it's a man in a woman's body. What the hell?
Yeah.
Why did I come to this kinky borough?"
Yeah.
In 2054?
Not only is it 20 years of surrogates, it's 2054. This is another thing that depressed me when he said this line. I was like, really? Have we gotten to this point?
Well, it's just not thought out. It's not well thought out.
Yeah. Okay. Now they go to the house of one of the operators.
Yeah.
It's a construction.
He's a labourer.
He's a construction worker. He uses that body for construction work.
This is the only thing you use bodies for.
Yeah.
To do regular jobs. If you were doing a construction job and you had the opportunity to have a robot body, would you go in your male model body, or would you have like a forklift body like Ripley drives in Aliens?
Yes. Why have a humanoid body at all?
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
And we also find out he's just bought it and he's devastated because he can't make the payments on it.
Yeah. Because it was the body he was using to work.
Yeah. Well, it's the only body he uses for everything.
Yeah.
So he's a labourer, does construction work. I'm going to assume in 2054, construction workers are probably not the most highest paid people in society. Yet this robot body is well within the means of this construction worker, and he could afford one.
Well, maybe he had a loan or something.
He did have a loan, but it's within his means.
Yeah.
He's just traded in for this better one, and he's got to make payments on it.
Yeah.
People would have lots of robot bodies the way people have more than one car. But in this comic, no one does.
No one does. And there are no rentals.
Nope. You just have the one that looks exactly like you. You order...
Well, no,
except
because
for the one
somebody had the...
But almost everyone's riding ones that look exactly like them. You order your one robot, you only get one. 90% of the time it looks exactly like you.
Yeah.
And you just use it to work at your desk.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the best you could come up with? You can drive a robot... You can drive a robot and do anything, and you're just going to use it to go to your day job? This is the best that the author could come up with?
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
Well, okay.
What's the opposite of mind-blowing?
Here's another... Okay. I'm going to go in another direction with this. We learn from the back matter that violent crime, is way, way down. Because it is now considered property damage. If you attack somebody else's body, that is considered property damage.
But that doesn't mean violent crime is down. It just means you've reclassified violent crime to property damage. Or
maybe the sentences are down. But here's two questions about this. These are bodies which can feel pleasure from sexing.
Yep.
I'm assuming they can feel pain.
They feel well, here's the thing.
So
they feel everything.
They must feel everything. In order to pick up a glass or anything, you need to have sensation, right?
They feel...
So, if they feel pain, if you punch that... if I punch a robot, if I punch a surrogate, and the operator feels pain, shouldn't that be considered a violent crime against a person?
Of course it would. It's a form of violence, yeah. Well, the idea is that people just jack out as soon as or turn off their surrogate as soon as they feel pain.
Okay, maybe, but it still seems to me like that would be...
You can't rape... The stupid back matter actually says this. The crime of rape can no longer exist when you have surrogates, because the person being raped just turns off their surrogate as soon as...
Right.
What? Unconsensual...
Oh my God,
and
okay.
You thought of that?
There's a lot going on here.
That's where your mind went when you were thinking about robots?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What if you talk some 19-year-old into it and she doesn't really want to do it, but then she does it, and we're saying this is not...
This is what I mean. It's the same thing like with the health thing, saying there's no health problems with the robots. Of course there are going to be health problems.
Okay.
He thinks because you're not going outside, as though communicable diseases were the only health problems people ever get. What about heart disease? What about liver disease? What about inherited conditions?
Yeah.
What about most problems people get which are not actual bacteria or viruses?
Yeah.
Here's another thing. He thinks because he's obsessed with people smoking. People are smoking all the time in this comic. Okay, fine. It's kind of like a noir-y.
It's supposed to be. Yeah.
But he's really keen on the smoking.
Yes. And
in the back matter, he says, smoking, everyone smokes now.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't hurt you anymore. So there are no health problems associated with smoking.
Right.
Same with drinking. The robots drink all the time.
Yeah.
And presumably get drunk?
Yes, they must feel it, otherwise why do it?
It's as you were saying. These robots are exactly like human bodies.
Yeah.
In every way. The comic is not interested in creating a world where robots can do anything. It's only created a world where robots can only do exactly what you do.
Yeah.
these robots don't have lungs. So when they inhale a cigarette smoke, like, it's not going anywhere.
No, in fact, the older cop says the younger cop, you're just doing that to look cool.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it. It's just a visual. I don't...
Well, I mean, no, they're getting pleasure from it.
Right.
So it's all simulated. So the bodies just do what human,
You know what? This is interesting because you've led down a path that I hadn't thought of. So the surrogate smokes a cigarette somewhere in town.
Yep.
You're back at home.
Yep.
And the sensor on your head emits something to give you the pleasure of having smoked a cigarette. I don't know if it's dopamine or serotonin or what, but you get a little burst because of an electrical trigger. So why bother with the surrogate smoking? Just trigger it at home with that head cap.
Why grow tobacco?
Yes, exactly.
Why grow tobacco?
Just put that thing on your head and press the trigger to give you that burst.
Liquor?
Yes.
These, you're not really drinking it. You're not really tasting it. It's all being simulated. And because you don't have lungs, the robot is not literally drawing smoke into its lungs. It's the thing at home that's sending that signal into your brain. And in fact, the comic even acknowledges that when it says that surrogacy technology is a combination of robotics and virtual reality.
Right.
They literally say that in the comic. So why get rid of the robots and just have the virtual reality?
Yeah.
You don't need
Well, because then there's no comic.
Well,
there's no crime story about who killed these robots. Who's the mystery electrocutor?
Well, all right, I'll take it back.
Okay.
Why grow fields and fields and fields of tobacco then?
Yeah.
If you could just give them paper.
Yeah.
They could just smoke paper and they would get the same effect.
Yes, yes.
And this is what's solved health problems.
Yeah. So the other thing
using robot. I want to take a moment just to appreciate the banality of this contention.
Yep.
All health problems are solved because robots smoke now.
Well, I don't think he said all health problems. He said a bunch of them.
He implied it.
I did want to say about the reason I was going on that thing about the crime going down is that we have a police force.
Yeah, what do they do all day?
What are they doing? And at the end of the
Solving
story,
property crimes.
they need to mobilize all the police, and they seem to have a huge police force. Why? There's supposedly no crimes going on.
Well, because of course there are crimes. You don't get rid of crime by reclassifying.
There's non-violent crimes going on.
You don't get rid of crime by reclassifying violent crime as property crime. There's heaps of crimes. Burglary. People are probably getting burgled constantly because everyone's passed out in a chair.
You would think that. I thought that too. Yeah.
So burglary is going to be a crime.
Yeah. So here's another thing hilarious thing. So they go to interview this guy.
We're going to talk
in
about
the chair
plot eventually.
The thing is, the guy tells them to tell two cops, "Hey, there was somebody else in that alley." And then the younger cop starts asking. Harvey says, "Don't worry about that." Okay, says, "Why wouldn't you ask about the other guy in the alley? If I was a cop investigating two surrogates that got fried, as they say, fry jobs."
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you ask about the other person that was there that might have been the one that did it? It's very weird. Yeah. There's a lot of the police work in this comic, and a lot of the plot details are there to allow the plot to move forward in a specific to lead to a specific finale.
It's like that in the film too, actually.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. They're not doing real police work. They're doing whatever it needs for the plot to advance.
Yeah.
And if the cops need to act like idiots for the plot to advance, that's what happens.
Yes, exactly. So this guy's being an idiot. They're in the car. Pete, the other cop, the young cop, is like, why can't people just be who they say they are? And now Harvey has a sudden change of heart. Harvey's like, hey, people are going to do this. You don't know who's...
You're the guy that didn't
You were the guy who was complaining about the female surrogate being controlled by a male? Again, just to some... And I actually read this page 2 or 3 times thinking, did they misletter the balloons?
Yeah.
Were they pointing to the wrong actor? No.
I feel like maybe they got mixed up there because it's Greer's arc, isn't it, that he's crusty about? Well,
yes and no. So Harvey goes home. Harvey Greer, the grizzled cop, goes home. His wife goes around in a surrogate all the time.
Yep.
And he's like, I want to see the real you.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, that real me's old. This is the real me.
It's actually sort of implied in the comic that people do maybe go out in their real bodies a bit, not like in the film when no one does.
Yeah, it seems to be weird that
because it's sort of implied that it's unusual that she never comes out of her room.
Yes.
Also, there's a mandate in the comic that everyone on the police force must show up in their surrogate body to work.
Okay.
Where the existence of a mandate implies that other industries don't have that mandate, meaning they probably show up in their meat bodies to their job, not necessarily their surrogates. It's only the police force where there's you must show up.
Oh, because there's kind of, they talk about safety.
Because it's safety.
Yeah.
But also, can we talk about the absurdity of police force telling you have to use your private property on the job? Like, you have to show up to work.
Is it private or are they provided by the police force?
They're not provided, they're owned by the people. It's their surrogate. Because remember, everyone owns only one.
That's right.
So it's like the cops, they don't... This is something the movie gets right. Actually, the movie corrects a lot of these problems, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
The movie gets this right because in the movie, the FBI issues you a surrogate.
Yes.
And what's more, it's... Well, we'll get to it, but it's a special surrogate, isn't it? In the FBI have access.
Yeah.
So, but here, it's not a special surrogate. It's the one you use every day, and the force says, you must show up to work and do your policing job. It'd be like the squad car being just like your Ford. You gotta just show up to work in your Ford, and that's your squad car for the day.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah. That's
just
weird.
not thinking it through.
That's weird. So this is when we finally meet this cult at the end of the first issue, led by Zaire Powell III. We get, in the back matter, we get a story about how he possibly or likely killed his whole family in an arson incident.
That doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't go in. It never brought up again. Why? I'm not sure why it's in there.
Doesn't have no bearing on the plot. And neither does that stuff about the racism or the gender stuff. That has no bearing on the plot either.
No. Okay, so now in the next issue, this company called Clark Technologies is broken into, and
it's just a chip is stolen.
A certain kind of computer chip is stolen, but they learn that in order to use this chip, there's another piece of software that needs to be used with it, and that software is held at another company. So they're like, okay, let's go stake out that second place, because the thief, who was this guy with the electrocuting hands, they know because of the way the security systems went out or whatever, it was this guy. They're like, okay, so he's going to show up to steal the tech. Sure enough, he does show up, and he throws Harvey out a window, and Harvey's robot body is destroyed.
Yep.
I will say it was a little bit of a surprise in the first issue when we learned that Harvey is in a robot body. Like, it's a bit of a twist that happens.
Because he was already a bit old and grizzled.
You think, oh, that must be... You just don't realize that it's everybody that's using this. Yep. And it's actually kind of a cool little twist when it occurs. But he's thrown out the window in this issue, and he decides he's going to handle the rest of the case in his normal human body. He's not going to get another robot body. Part of the reason is he's going to go on to the reservation. When he was thrown out the window, this guy that attacked him gave a speech about how it's better to be human, etc. Yep. And he thinks, this sounds like those guys on the Dread Reservation.
Yep.
And the Prophet.
The reservation's called the Dread Reservation, presumably because the Prophet has dreadlocks.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other reason why that would be, and that's so dumb.
Yep. Yep. And that's the official name of it, I believe. It's the government. After 4 days of rioting, they were like, you can live in this place. We dub it the Dread Reservation because of your hair. Better not cut your hair tomorrow, dude.
Alright, I want to wind back a bit. I want to talk about the chip.
Okay. It's
an EMP chip.
Yep.
So this is a computer chip. It's about the size of a smartphone.
Yep.
It emits an EMP.
Yeah.
Okay. Chips do not emit EMPs.
Yep.
Chips are... Computer chips process and store information.
Yep.
That's what they do. They're not something that you can use to emit an electromagnetic pulse that will disable everything in a city. Okay? Yep. EMPs, you need to set off an explosion to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
A piece of software that you plug into a computer chip is not going to do that.
No, and in fact, it's an EMP that affects the whole country, maybe the whole world? No, the whole country.
No, it only affects... it affects the whole of Georgia. This mega city in Georgia.
Okay.
Because remember, in the comic, Georgia is the whole world.
Effective.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
in story terms, but I mean practically, but I mean the reality is it's not the whole country or the whole world, but this again. We'll get to it when we get to the finale.
But it's just that's not
okay. So he decides he's going to go onto this reservation. He has to go in a human body, of course. He can't go in a robot body because he'll be taken apart.
They break up any robots that come in.
Right, and he talks to
the Prophet.
The Prophet,
it's a completely pointless conversation because the Prophet just only speaks in Bible verses.
Yes, and he didn't get any information from this guy. Apparently, he had some interactions with him in the past, though. Unless but
that doesn't pay off.
No. No, it's not relevant.
He was like a
it's
cop
just,
that-
It's just the way he was able to get in and talk
He
to
was
him, I guess.
he was a cop that was involved in the rioting. He was putting down the rioting. Prophet was leading the rioting. They,
Right. Okay.
They never met.
Right.
He even says that they never met, but it's enough of a connection for him to get in.
I guess, maybe, yeah.
Whatever.
So, then basically, Powell goes on the news, the Prophet goes on the news, and he says, I was visited by the police, and they're like, well, that's...
It totally backfires.
Yeah, it backfires. So they have they hold a sting operation. I can't remember how they knew where this guy was going to attack. Maybe it's still the
Because it's
same software company?
It's a software company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this super suit guy shows up with his, electro suit, and
Yep.
he beats the crap out of all the cops.
Yeah. He's unstoppable.
He's unstoppable.
They shoot him with
some kind of sonic gun.
Yeah, they've got sonic guns that they're used to put down the robots.
Yes, and usually it sends a signal back to the operator that the operator has to whip the helmet
Basically,
off.
it's just a really loud sound.
Yeah, because they can't handle it. And normally an operator would rip their helmet off and the surrogate would just stop.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work
It doesn't
on the robot man, on the suited guy.
That's right. But they managed to chop his arm off, his robot arm off,
Yep.
and they take that to get into I guess an autopsy, their version of a robot autopsy.
Yep. And then
And they find it has no serial numbers on it, which is weird.
So first of all, it's a robot. So that was a surprise because this is an anti-robot crusader, telling people to live.
Yes,
and he gave that
that's right,
speech
that's
to Greer on the train when he threw him out the window, all about stop surrogacy, it's bad for your soul or
Yeah.
whatever. So that's a shock. Also, it's incredibly advanced, bespoke, has no serial numbers, and also it has things that the tech guy in the lab can't believe. He can't believe that it has this amazing grappling hook. And he can't believe that it has this amazing energy storage capacity.
Yeah.
It can store 1 billion volts, which is not quite as ridiculous as the 1 billion decibel gun that Cyborg was firing off in Teen Titans, but still pretty stupid because 1 billion volts famously is how much energy there is in a bolt of lightning.
Right.
So I don't know how where is he generating that energy? Is he just plugging himself into the mains for several years?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So they go to the company called VSI Virtual Self Industries.
Ah, yes, the company that makes all robots.
One company makes every robot in the world. One company. And they serial number every single one that's ever been made. So
yes. And also it's tied to your brain, so you can't use anyone else's robot.
Yeah.
One robot per person.
Yeah.
They say.
I don't.
Do they say that in the film?
No.
No, I think they do say something about virtual ID or something.
Yeah, there is something like that, but
I think they contradict that pretty quickly. Right.
But I mean, my thing is, okay. First of all, imagine if every car in the world was made by one company, or even every phone. There's more. There's not just Apple.
This just wouldn't happen.
And even you're telling me all the other countries. You're telling me in Guatemala, in the Seychelles. You're telling me that all those surrogates out there are made by this company.
Yes, that's what it's saying. Although the comic does imply that it's mostly the US where they use. It's the film that says the world. Okay, but it's the same in the film because it's one company.
But they do say other countries are using them in the comic.
They do.
Oh, but I'm supposed to believe that this one company is manufacturing.
Yeah,
and not only that, everybody who has a contract, like the police.
Yep.
Every one of our employees is going to use tens of thousands are going to go to this one company.
Yep.
They're not going to take bids from different companies or try to find a cheaper option. They're going to trust this company. It just seems crazy, but it's necessary for this plot.
It's necessary for the plot, and it's even more necessary for the plot because now we get a really great, really stupid thing. So by this point, you're probably the word latency is popping up in your brain.
Yeah.
How do these robots work the further and further you get away from the operator, right? How are they operating? Okay, if you don't address this, I can maybe imagine future tech, okay?
Yeah. Don't they mention satellites?
Unfortunately, they do.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they do. Okay, so now that you've involved satellites, I know we're talking about good old-fashioned electromagnetic radiation that we're using to signal. That's the connection between the robots. So you've got latency. It doesn't matter how far you are in the future. If you're bouncing a signal off a satellite, you are restricted by the speed of light. If it's the Starlink system, like it's fairly close to Earth, it's pretty good latency, but you're still talking about a couple of seconds. What's more, we now find out here that every robot signal, it doesn't go directly to the robot. It is routed through the mainframe in the head office.
Yeah.
So you're driving your robot.
Yeah.
You're using it to drive a car, maybe, in the city. The signal, the visual input's going in your eyes, in your robot. It is then being bounced up to a satellite.
Yeah.
It is then being bounced to the head offices of VSI, and then from there, presumably it's going back up to a satellite again, and then it's going back to you. This is happening at the speed of light, but it's still a long way to go. You're talking about a delay of several seconds. What if someone walks out in front of your car? Well, you just ran them over.
Yeah. Doesn't matter if it was a robot.
No, but the robots would not work.
Yeah.
They're not going to work.
No. Nope.
If you hadn't mentioned this, I could have just thought subspace, quantum tunneling.
Yeah.
Wormholes.
There is some. They have some excuse for. They
mention satellites.
They mention satellites. There must be some plot reason. Everything is there to explain some bit about the plot that needs to be in place.
It has to be all the signals have to go through the mainframe because this is a plot point. Because, well, we'll see. We'll see. Because the end of the movie has to happen. I'm sorry, the end of the comic has to happen. Yeah. And we need there to be every signal to go through the office in order for the end of the comic to occur.
So, but they do all these... Oh, yes, this is part of it, is they've got a certain... the signal has a certain, fingerprint, right?
Yep.
That's going up to the satellite.
Yep.
So they have that for the robot that's the super robot, the electro robot.
Yeah.
But the owner of the company will not give it to the cops because he says we have to maintain the anonymity of our users. Wait a second. They have barcodes on the back of their necks. Nobody has anonymity. They're just going around with a barcode scanner.
Yeah.
They know you. Why? There was no anonymity before.
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't. They're saying this is the whole system would fall apart if we violated this confidentiality.
There is none.
There isn't one. Your name has to be. It's like a license plate on a car. You have to be identifiable when you're in your one robot body that you're allowed to own.
Yeah. Okay, but we do learn about the guy who invented the robots. His name man named Cantor. He has a motor neuron disease. He's in a wheelchair. He's back at home. He can't move around or anything.
He invented them as literal surrogates to do things that a disabled person couldn't do.
Meanwhile, the electro robot repairs its arm in a scene straight out of Terminator 1. Very strange. Then the electro robot goes and kills the Prophet. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that was.
It's to kick off the march on the town.
But what does the march on the town do?
It's all part of it. Okay, it's his very convoluted plan that could have gone wrong at any point. The robot, we'll just spoil it now, the robot is Cantor. He's gone anti-surrogates now.
Yes, because what's happened is the company... So it's only over 18s can have a surrogate.
Yeah.
But the company is planning to introduce under 18 surrogates for kids. Cantor thinks this is a step too far. He was ejected from the company a long time ago.
Yep.
He's like, this is too much, and now he's going... We want to go back to basics, back to real...
He just wanted it to be used for the purpose for which he designed it, which is to...
So what was his purpose in instigating this riot?
Okay, it's dumb, but he has a plan. First of all, he tests his equipment on those people in the alley to make sure it works. Why did he do it on them? Why didn't he just do it, I don't know, somewhere quieter? You had to fry some randos, cyborgs, whatever. We know this is why he did it because that's what the cops say. He was doing a field test.
Yes. Well, he was doing it during a lightning storm, which is part of it.
Oh, yeah, he draws on ambient...
It covers his tracks,
Yes, and he also draws on the ambient, because there's a lot of storms, I think. Maybe it's a global warming thing.
They're called flash storms.
Yeah. Then he steals the EMP chip.
Yeah.
Then he steals the software. No. Then he deliberately confronts Greer and goads him into visiting the Prophet by telling him a lot of anti-surrogate stuff, which coincidentally he also believes.
Right.
So then Greer goes and sees the Prophet.
Oh,
which riles up the...
Which makes it seem like when Zaire dies, it was the cops that did it?
Yeah, and also, and riles up his supporters. First with the cop visit and then with the death. Yes. Okay. And then he's going to set off the EMP chip, knock out all the surrogates.
In the entire US, by the way. This
Well,
EMP wave covers the entire United States. We get a panel of it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yes, it does. And then when the surrogates, because the police force is only surrogates, the entire police force is knocked out. There's no one to stop the rioters. However, the rioters are peaceful because they're the goodies.
Yes.
And the only thing they do is burn down VSI's office, which is coincidentally where the mainframe is that all surrogate signals have to go through. That's why you can't just connect your device to your surrogate. Which is how you would normally do it. You have to go through the mainframes so that they're the it's the sky beam. It's it's the MacGuffin. So the rioters burn down the building, and then surrogates are gone forever.
Well, no, they do talk about how they will be repaired and come back, but at least this will be a moment in time as far as Cantor.
No, that's the film that says that. I'm pretty sure the comic just says.
No, I think it was in the comic where Cantor says this, or this will be a moment in time where people will have to reconsider their lives when they were human, and eventually they will be repaired again, and he admits to that.
Okay, fair enough, but I feel pretty strong. I feel like the sense at the end of it was pretty strong that with the destruction of the mainframe, the technology to make new surrogates was lost.
No, I don't think that was the case, especially, I mean, it's not, I shouldn't say this as an argument, but there are 2 sequels, right?
Right, okay. I didn't read those.
No, I didn't either, but
of course, you're right, there were sequels. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the dumb... And anyway, so the last third of the comic is them desperately trying to find Cantor.
Yeah.
His meat body. Why? The rioters are already coming. You can't stop the riot by stopping Cantor.
Yeah.
Cantor's going to make the riot way worse by EMPing everybody, but it's already a plot point that they can't stop the rioters anyway.
Right.
They don't have enough cops. They don't have enough weapons. They've only got the stun guns that they use
sonic guns or whatever.
Sonic guns. They don't have live ammo. And there are 20,000 of these cultists.
Yeah.
So, and the comic's like, we've got to find Cantor. I'm like, why? You're not going to stop the rioters. The rioters are already coming because Cantor killed, but that's what the plot needs to happen.
Yeah.
It's just a big sloppy mess.
So there is a line here which says the VSI home office tower is in flames and the corporate mainframes have been destroyed. Reports of surrogate operations failures are coming in from across the nation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was the EMP.
No, it's because they burned it down.
Or the mainframe.
Because everything had to go through the mainframe.
So what did the EMP do?
Let the rioters get to VSI.
Oh, okay. So the whole stealing of the chip and the software is just to make VSI accessible to the rioters?
Yes.
Christ. Okay. Okay, now...
And also, did he even need to fry surrogates with his electric arms to do that?
Yeah.
Couldn't he?
No, he could have knocked out any
He's
tech.
really rich. Couldn't he have just bought the chips?
Yeah, just test it on anything if you're just trying to knock out the security system.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be used on robots?
Yeah.
Are we getting this right?
No, that's what the comic says. We get it from the cops say it was a field test. He had to test to see if his equipment worked.
Oh.
And he's like...
But he's not... The purpose of equipment is not to knock out surrogates. It's to knock out security.
Yeah. So he didn't need to use it on surrogates.
Oh my god, okay.
So the whole thing that kicks off the plot is... It's just...
Yeah. Frustrating.
And he's Iron Man as well, because he has all this... This is the future, and everyone's really shocked. Wow, someone built a robot that did more than just walk around and smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
What a mind fuck.
Yeah.
I hate this comic.
Yeah, okay, and so this is another really depressing thing in this comic. Harvey comes home and finds that his wife, his human wife, has killed herself because she can't stand the idea of life without her surrogate body. Yeah. And that's how the comic ends. What a depressing
I guess
finale.
maybe that's why I thought that surrogates were gone for good, because of the finality of that ending.
No, I'm sure there was a conversation about how it doesn't matter, that it's only a temporary solution. It's like
that very much in the film.
Much like Watchmen, this giant squid is a temporary solution.
Nothing ever ends.
Yeah, that is just it's not going to solve anything. It was a supervillain solution.
Mentioning this comic in the same breath as Watchmen is not making your point.
Yeah. Okay.
Film.
Yes, okay, 2009. Directed by Jonathan Mostow, who directed Terminator 3. Another crap fest.
Not just directed. The team that wrote it's a 3-man team.
That's right. Yeah.
Jonathan Mostow directed. The screenplays by John Brancato and Michael Ferris.
Yes.
It's the same team that did those same jobs for T3.
They also wrote Catwoman.
Well,
the Halle Berry Catwoman.
One of the worst movies of all time.
And we're going to get to it eventually, but there you go. I will say, I liked when I turned on this movie, it was an hour and 28 minutes.
I liked that as well. and like 8 minutes of credits.
Yeah, lots of credits. It actually starts with Zaire, who doesn't show up till the end of the first issue. We get a speech from Ving Rhames as the Prophet, but actually, even the news calls him the Prophet. Did you notice that? Like, the anchors are saying, the Prophet did this or that, instead of calling him by his name?
Yeah.
Very weird. Bit of writing there. But now we start, the opening credits are done over this montage of, like...
telling us the recent history, 20 years ago.
I think we get the two people killed in the alley first, before credits.
Yes.
I can't remember.
We do, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Did they kill?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, anyway.
We go straight into the world building.
Yeah.
We get 20 years ago, Surrogates appear. 10 years ago, whatever happens.
Yeah.
3 years ago,
riots.
The riots. So the riots are not happening 15 years ago, they're only happening 3 years ago here. I actually went back and checked that because of an important thing that happens later, which is dumb.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear what it was. And here's where we learned that 98% of the world population uses surrogates.
That amazing statistic, which is completely ridiculous. A lot of people, plenty of people don't even have access to electricity.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah.
There's a court ruling on the public use of surrogates at one point.
Yeah.
Why would you need to...
Oh, we do get... I like that we get the origins of it, where they're like testing it on a monkey, and how they're using it for people who've lost limbs. I did like that kind of stuff.
Yes, I like it too. But they also say repeat that stupid notion that violent crime has vanished as a result of surrogates.
We got to talk about that in depth later in the...
Another thing I like about this intro is they don't give the year. That's right. Don't give the year.
Yep, that's good.
Good.
It does say the credit here is based on the graphic novel by Robert Venditti and Brett Weldele.
Good.
Weldele. Yeah.
And now we get a guy being driven to the opera.
That's right, yeah.
His dad's saying, enjoy the opera, son, while you're in town.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't really feel like the opera, to the driver, and they go to a club.
They go to a club. He climbs up onto, the rafters or something. He jumps off this, almost diving board, down, 40 feet into the people dancing.
He lands on the floor, and then he just gets
up and starts dancing.
Okay.
Like he's on E. But right away, we get that these surrogates actually have superpowers.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Unlike the comics.
Some do, it seems.
Some do.
His one is robust. Yes. He's just thrown himself off the third floor or the second floor of this building and landed on what looks like cement or something.
Yeah.
Pretty robust robot, and it didn't leave a mark. Anyway, he just gets back up and keeps dancing. It's like, whoa, okay, something's going on here. Yeah. But then in the very next scene, another robot is hit by a car and is in 2 pieces.
Yes.
Okay. I think the kinetic force from falling 3 stories and being hit by a car are broadly similar. One robot was torn apart by that. The other one just kept dancing.
Okay, so maybe he's got a more expensive model.
Exactly. So here already big difference from the comic.
Yeah.
Where everyone was just tooling around in the exact same.
Yes, in fact, we
robot.
do see cheap models here as well in this movie specifically.
So already someone's put. I don't want to give the screenwriters too much credit because they came up with T3, but. They've already put more thought in.
Yes,
there's going to be a class
space. It is better, yeah.
If you have more money, you have
a better car.
And what's more, you have more than one. That comes up very quickly too. People own more than one surrogate.
Yeah. Okay, so in the alley, they're attacked by somebody that uses some sort of gun on them, and it fries out their eyes.
Yeah.
And the operators are killed.
Yes. So this is different from the comic where the operators were not killed.
Yeah.
Their machines just stopped working.
Yes. So now we get Agent Tom Greer, not Harvey Greer. Tom Greer and Agent Peters. Pete has become Agent Peters, a female, and they're from the FBI. They're not cops.
Yes.
Which makes maybe more sense that there would be less of police if there's no crime. That more of the policing would be done by the FBI. Maybe, I don't know.
It's interesting that they're the first on the scene, though, because usually local cops call in the FBI.
You'd think so.
but they're the first on scene. And that's why it was a bit of a shock to me when they turned out to be in the FBI. So the FBI are beat cops now. Maybe they got rid of the regular cops.
Yeah, maybe. Don't know.
You need to. I mean, a cynic would say police only investigate crimes against property. So you still need the police force because there's plenty of property damage being done.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so now Bruce. I can't remember what.
Bruce Willis. We'll just call him Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Greer. He goes home.
That's right, Tom Greer.
He goes to his home, and then we see that he's got
incidentally, he's terrible de-aged CGI Bruce Willis.
Oh, did they use CG to do this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't
sure how they...
He looks like a rubber... He looks awful. This is 2009 CG. Yeah. They've de-aged him, and in the alley scene, it's dark, and I'm thinking, okay, we're seeing him in the dark because this is...
Did they do de-aging in 2009 movies?
He's de-aged, yeah. Yeah, it's CG, it's young.
Okay.
Did you think they cast someone?
No, I assumed it was makeup, like caked on makeup.
Oh.
I don't remember seeing de-aging this early.
You think it was makeup?
Yeah, I think so.
Could I have confused makeup for bad CGI?
I think it's possible. Well, we got to talk about... So as I mentioned before, everybody in this movie is a Ken or a Barbie.
Yeah, which is great.
It is great.
I love it when we get the bull pit at the police station and everyone's a model.
Yeah, everyone's really beautiful. It's really pretty funny. However, there's a very weird thing in this movie where all the surrogates walk a bit like Ken and Barbies. They're a bit like robots. They have kind of stiff arm movements.
I would say the director's probably told them to do that.
Yeah, but it doesn't... What would you want to use a surrogate if it walked around with stiff elbows and knees?
It was digital effects.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Sorry, feel free to take that out. I don't even know why I fact-checked it.
No, I'm glad we fact-checked that.
Oh, okay.
That is... It must... Because it's pre...
It looks awful.
It's before Rogue One.
They did it frame by frame digitally.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there were like 4 digital effects companies worked on the film, including ILM.
Yeah, right.
And
this movie is expensive. It's $80 million for 90 minutes.
Correct.
Or 85 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes home. Now we get the twist where we learn that he himself is a surrogate. Yeah. Good twist. I liked it. Again, watching it, the movie. This is the second time I've seen this movie. Liked it the second time. His wife.
She won't. Played by Rosamund Pike. Rosamund Pike.
Really good in this.
She is. She's great. She's really good at this. Not people that are not quite right. Yes. Like in Gone Girl. She's really good. Yeah, she's great in this.
She's really good. I think Bruce Willis is good in this. I think there. So yes. Okay, we get this bit where he goes into the room of his deceased son. His son has died in some sort of accident. Yeah. Now immediately I'm like, okay, we had this in Extraction. It's like such a hoary cliche. Yeah. I will say it works in the movie's favor. Especially later on. I think this movie has some relationship stuff between these two, which is not in the comic, where she's just like, in the comic, she's like a harpy that kills herself at the end. It's really miserable.
Yep.
I actually really like her. I like her kind of attempts to keep the relationship. He's like, why don't we do something together with you and your human body? And she's like, I don't like that body. And it's really, you buy it coming from her.
Yep.
And then she's like trying to...
She says things are different.
And when he like comes home beat up, she's like, oh my God. And she's worried about him. In the comics, she wouldn't have been. She'd have been like, what are you doing? Here she's like generally worried, but at the same time she's like addicted to her robot body. She's an addict that can't... It's
a shame. I don't agree. I think the dead son, I don't agree because I think it's the reason for her being like that.
Yes.
So she's unhealthily attached to her cyborg body because it's sort of implied that it's because of the trauma of what happened with their kid.
She seems to have some scars from
the car accident.
So I guess they used to go around in their human bodies.
Yeah. And
within the last 7-10 years or whatever.
And I think that's silly because the bodies are habit forming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the theme, like a big theme of the film. And in fact, Bruce Willis, a character, or Tom Greer, a character who it's established already doesn't really like surrogates and kind of has a problem with them. When he walks around the streets of the city, when he's no longer in his body, because we get his surrogate gets destroyed about 20 minutes in. He's suffering from acute anxiety, right?
Yes.
A guy that doesn't like surrogates
Yes, because he's not used to it.
is anxious.
Yeah.
So what about people that love their surrogates? They're going to be... If someone who already is talking to his wife about, oh, I want to go on holiday with you, just with you, not in our bodies. If that guy is struggling to not be in his surrogate outdoors, what's everyone else going to be like? The people that are uncritically adopting it. That's why I think...
So what's the connection to the dead son? What are you saying?
She doesn't need a dead son to be attached to her body.
Oh, I see.
I feel like it kind of...
I see what you mean.
I think it's I feel like, as you say, it's a bit of a... To add pathos that doesn't need to be there.
I don't know. I do
cliche,
like it.
I
I like them trying to... They're both in their way trying to keep the relationship... They're trying to fix the marriage despite this thing that's happened.
I think the thing could be the robots. I just don't really think you need
maybe...
the kid. It's fine. It's not... We can agree to this.
Okay. Okay, so then my next note was about the robot acting, which, okay, this is my thing. If it was a perfectly... Because the movie's inconsistent. Sometimes people act totally normal.
Yeah.
But sometimes they act like, I am a robot. And I'm like, why would you want to be a surrogate in that? You'd want to be yourself.
I think it's the direction. I think the director's saying, you're a robot, you're a robot.
Yeah.
What was the film? What was it? What film was it where the director was like yelling that?
Well, it's Batman and Robin.
That's it.
Where Schumacher was yelling, "You're in a comic book. You're in a comic book."
That's what I could just imagine Mostow doing that.
Yeah. Okay, so they go to interview Cantor
because they found out that.
The one that was killed was Cantor's son. So this is not a thing that's in the comic. It's just a random person that was killed in the comic. Here, the college student who was killed was actually. Cantor's son.
Which means that they were targeting Cantor himself because it turns out the son is running around
in one of Cantor's bodies.
In one of Cantor's bodies. He lends like your dad's Corvette. When his son comes to town to visit him, he lets him take out one of his bodies, which incidentally are modeled after his younger self.
Yeah.
Which is kind of creepy, but it's also cool because this is what you would do.
Yeah.
People would have lots.
Yeah. But we get a plot point that you're not supposed to be able to do this because of the signal pairing between the neural pairing. But he's overcome this because he's the guy that designed these things. So he's got the tech to be able to override that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
He's like, I invented this. I'm not your ordinary user.
Average VSI consumer.
Yeah.
And that explains some things that happen later in the movie. Yeah. Because I remember that they say you can only hook into your one because of the neural profiling.
Yeah.
Because later in the movie, all sorts of people are using everyone else's robots.
Yes.
You remember?
Yeah.
And I'm like, but we heard earlier that you can't do that. All of those people were connected in some way to Cantor. Right. So it was his tech that was doing it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so then they go to visit VSI. This is there's a good scene where you get to see where they're building all the robots, a big CGI scene.
Here we've got robots that are specifically designed for the military.
Yes,
which is
something
of course
was touched on in the comic.
No, you would, but they don't. They make you bring your work car to do.
Yeah.
You know, if people are in the military, they would have had to bring their home bot to do it because that's as far as the writer of the comic took it. These guys have thought a little further. They've taken a step further. It's not. This film is not perfect by any means. It's a big mess, but they've gone one step further, which gives it a lot of points in my book.
Agreed.
So we've got specific military robots. So they're like featureless. Yeah. They look like. I think you'd make them look creepy. I think, but these guys don't look creepy. They just look like mannequins, like store mannequins.
Yes, but maybe you're smarter about these things than me, and you can explain it to me. If you have a military operation, let's say you send a bunch of soldiers into a zone, and you want to take over a certain region, a certain stronghold, which is of tactical importance or something. You're trying to get the enemy to surrender. You've got bots fighting bots. Everybody's at home.
Yeah.
If you kill all the bots, are they going to surrender?
I think it's implied that maybe the other people don't have the bots.
98% of the world's population has bots.
Yeah. So
they've got bots. If you kill their bots, are they going to surrender their home? So you might not even know where they are.
You just got to kill all their bots and then take if that location is exactly. It's a bit like that episode of Star Trek where everyone just goes in the disintegrator. Remember how they simulate the explosions and then everyone just goes in the disintegrator? If you've got bot armies fighting bot armies and everyone's at home, first of all, you're going to be more likely to go to war
Yes, absolutely. But then what would the war accomplish? What would you, if you take Saigon and everybody's still, all the operators are still alive and can maybe activate more bots, what have you actually achieved?
You have to exhaust their material before they exhaust yours, which is essentially what modern war is anyway.
I guess, yes. Okay. Okay, now we get to... Hang on, why did I write down Miles Strickland? Who was that?
Okay, I wrote that down too, for the same reason. Because they just, after they get back from VSI, they say, I found Miles Strickland.
Yes.
And I just said, who?
Oh, he was the... Okay, so I think they pulled the license plate off the guy that used the...
That comes later. They scanned... They this time they know that someone's... They saw the guy and it's sort of mentioned in passing. And then it's not mentioned for 15, 20 minutes. And then Peters comes in and says, I found Miles Strickland.
Yes.
Miles Strickland hasn't been mentioned for 20 minutes. Except for he was briefly mentioned as maybe being the guy who was in the alley.
Oh, the guy that lasered them.
Yeah, the guy that lasered them.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured.
I feel like there's a missing scene.
I feel like there's 7 missing scenes in this movie that bring it up to a 2-hour running time.
This is the most egregious, though, because we haven't talked about Miles Strickland. I'm sure if we've even mentioned his name.
Yeah, agreed.
And then they just say, I found him.
Yeah.
And I was like, who? I actually took it back. I took it back and watched it again. Yeah. Well, it was just apropos of nothing.
Right, okay.
He's the guy that EMP'd the 2 robots in the alley.
Okay. That's
trying
what
to
I
kill
figured.
Cantor.
Yes, because they do end up in a chase, but...
He's played by... Did you see who he was played by?
I reckon he seemed familiar.
He should.
Was he in Snowpiercer?
Oh, good guess. No, he was in Barbed Wire.
Oh.
He played Charlie, Pamela's blind brother. Remember the guy?
Yeah.
The actor is called Jack Noseworthy. It's a pretty cool name.
Yes. I noticed that as well. Okay, that's excellent.
So he's a twofer now. Unfortunately, that's as far as he'll get. He hasn't had a very good career.
Okay. So they go down to the tech guy at police headquarters. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, looking up on the actors in this film, an unfortunate large number of them says best known for Surrogates.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
They go down to the tech level of the FBI headquarters, and there's the guy that's running the tech monitoring systems is this big fat guy. It's always a big fat guy. He doesn't use... Yeah, it's always a big fat guy. He does not use a surrogate. He uses his flesh body. Because
this doesn't pay off. Well, it sort of does.
Well, he makes an excuse that his brain is too big to fit in the box.
He's eccentric.
Yeah,
he's just eccentric.
Exactly.
He's your basement dwelling weirdo. It's such a cliche. Much like poor old James Cromwell. Well, I say poor old. So James Cromwell plays Cantor. James Cromwell. Any genre fan knows who he is. He's your go-to guy for reclusive genius.
Not always. I would say in Star Trek First Contact...
He's reclusive genius. Zephyrin Cochrane.
Cochrane wasn't reclusive. He was a genius.
He was living in like the woods or something.
Okay. What about Babe?
No.
Pig Farmer?
He's been in lots of films.
Hundreds of...
If you're a genre... Yeah, of course.
Yes, if you're a genre fan, yes.
You think of eccentric, reclusive genius.
Yes.
He's that in like iRobot.
He's an iRobot?
Yeah, he's the reclusive genius that made the robots.
Oh
so
my God.
He's the reclusive genius
that makes the robots. Oh my God.
In Zephyrin, obviously in Star Trek he's First Contact, and he's going to be back, Kumar, in Big Hero 6.
Oh, excellent.
Where he's the reclusive genius.
That invented the robots. He was another role in Star Trek. He was on TNG as well in something.
I just watched the episode that he was in. I forget what it's called, but it's the one with the soldiers... The super soldiers that have been imprisoned on a moon. He plays the president.
Oh.
It's a really dumb episode. Well,
okay.
It's a Troy episode.
Is it like a season 2?
I think it's season 3.
Okay.
Oh, it might be season 2. The soldier's called Roga Dana, and he's just impossibly competent.
Okay.
He manages to fool everyone, like Data. He pushes his way out of a transporter beam. It's so dumb. And it's a Troy-heavy episode, which I hate. But the themes are good, because they don't know how to... These people have PTSD, and also they were conditioned to be like the ultimate soldiers.
Okay.
And then once the war's over, what do you do with people that are conditioned to be berserk killing machines? They don't know what to do, so they just shove them on a moon. This planet wants to be in the Federation. As Captain Picard says, until you figure out how to rehabilitate the soldiers you used to win the war, you can't come into the Federation.
Right.
It's like, fuck yeah, that's right. Anyway, he was the president in that one. So the other role that, of course, James Cromwell is always playing is kind of like crusty authority figures. Too. He's just got such presence. He's tall, he's thin, he's got a beautiful aquiline nose.
He was Jack Bauer's dad on 24. Oh, right. Was he? Yeah, I think he was. He was in 24 on one season.
That was fun digression.
Yeah, no, we haven't had a surfing digression in a while. Character identifier. Okay, so here's the other thing about this monitoring station. The monitoring is done on hundreds... So they're monitoring all the CCTV cameras on hundreds of...
Billions. Because
TVs
this is
with robots sitting in front of them that are operated remotely by operators. Now, these are robots with two eyes looking at computer screens back and forth.
Yep. Well, they seem to like maybe have compound eyes, I thought, kind of. So they might be able to... I think.
Why do you need a robot sitting in front of the computer?
I hear what you're saying, and I thought that
the computer can do the work itself.
I thought that too, actually, when I first saw them. Or I thought, why don't you just give... If these guys are working from home, just put the monitors in their house.
Yeah.
Then they can just sit in their chair and do it. Then I thought about it, and I think it's... Maybe I might be giving the film too much credit, but I think it's maybe implied that these are special robots. Like the people...
well, they're skinless. They're not like... They look like robots. They don't look like surrogates.
And they seem to have elaborate eyes. So maybe when you're... Like, what do we call logging? You're logged in... or whatever, your sensorium is being expanded in this robot and you can see more than you normally would be able to see. That was my...
Maybe, but...
But I agree.
I think a human operator, a human looking through these specialized, these monitors is better than just having some sort of AI system in the computers that is like... It just
well,
seems...
AI doesn't exist because this is 2009, so they don't...
Yeah, okay.
AI is not on the...
Yes.
It's just humans doing...
Right.
But the robots can be superpowered, and I guess one of your superpowers could be...
You're right, because when they go to VSI, Bruce Willis is offered night vision for his FBI body.
Yes.
We've got these upgrades coming for police bodies, they say.
And they specifically say it's a software upgrade, not a hardware one.
That's right.
So that would be, presumably, the way that the hardware integrates with his brain, they figured out a better hack to make him see more.
Yeah.
Fine, I'm cool with it. And it pays off a little later because, again, unlike the comic, Bruce Willis gets in a big chase and his robot body can do shit.
Yes, this happens. This is the next scene because they find on the monitors. They find this guy Strickland. He's on a motorbike or something. They have a big chase through town. Big action sequence.
Yep.
He flees to the reservation, the Dread Reservation. Bruce Willis follows him there.
He's not supposed to because it's a extraterritorial enclave within the United States.
But there's multiple. We get in the opening montage, we see that there are multiple of these enclaves around. It's not like the comic.
So this is more believable.
Yes.
So I can imagine that there was some sort of, not 4 days of rioting, but maybe a huge incident that occurred. And the only way the US could resolve it was to...
Yes, and also...
give them enclaves.
We've gotten to the stage where robots have been around for long enough that we can't turn the clock back on that. So if you don't want robot bodies, you're going to have to live in this enclave. That's the only solution.
Yeah.
Because we can't like get rid of cars.
Yeah. It does make, I don't know, it's still a bit problematic, but less detail makes it,
Of course it is, but it's better than what we're given in the comic, where the riots happen 3 years after robots are invented, and then 4 days later they're put into this one enclave in the whole United States.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right, of course.
So now we see that Bruce Willis can do super jumps.
Yep.
And stuff, and he's super strong, and...
Well, Strickland has the gun, the EMP gun, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's not actually an EMP gun, although it looks like one.
No, that's right, it's not EMP.
He fires it at them. It's like it shoots waves of, coruscating waves of energy, and it fries all the robots. But Bruce Willis logs out, and so his robot isn't fried, but he does get a wicked headache. Too bad all those other people that were dying didn't think to log out. Also, if you were shot with some kind of robot-killing laser... would your robot survive just because you weren't logged into it at the time? Because that's sort of what's implied here.
Yeah.
Fine. He logs back in after a couple of seconds. The gun's gone off. He's in a helicopter. The helicopter crashes with him in it. He's thrown out of it. Now he's got no arm. His arm's come off.
Yeah.
But he's still intact because, of course, he's a durable police robot. And we now see just how durable and superpowered he is because he does all this... He's leaping about like Spider-Man.
Yep.
Climbing up things, even with one arm. He's carrying a gun, he's pulling himself up. This guy's running as fast as he can, Strickland with 2 arms and 2 legs, and Bruce Willis is keeping up with him.
Yeah.
But we also see that the inhabitants of the Dread Reservation are not happy to see Bruce Willis running around.
A robot.
Obviously a robot.
Yeah.
So they're all gearing up and picking up sledgehammers and guns.
They destroy him
They do.
eventually. Now, I wanted to point out a couple of things here. One is that this scene, the reservation to me was a relief. Seeing real human people with like normal
Like fat
hair and
people.
normal skin,
Yep.
normal body types.
Yeah, normal body types.
It was amazing. It was like a strange. The movie, maybe unintentionally, I was on their side, which is, you're supposed to be by the end of the movie. But it was like, oh, these are like real people that I would actually kind of want to maybe hang out with more likely than the Ken and Barbies that are on the street.
That's good.
I also want to point out about the Ken and Barbie thing is that that's a really smart. This was like a colorful movie. It's very like pink and blue, and it's very smart of them to not try to. Because if they'd gone dark, they would have been a Blade Runner ripoff, right? So they've kind of gone in a smart choice to go.
It's
in
always
this direction.
daytime.
It's always daytime, yeah.
Except in the very first scene.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it would have been really easy. I mean, that Bruce Willis effect looks a lot. The de-aging looks a lot better in the dark than it does in the light.
Yeah.
But they went in. At one point here in the reservation, Bruce Willis is surrounded by. I didn't find that. I found them. I thought of them as like rednecks. So
Yeah, absolutely.
At one point he's surrounded
They're
by
supposed to be
rednecks.
backwards, for sure.
And then Jon Snow style, in the very next scene, he's not surrounded by rednecks. And he's just chasing Strickland again. It's like, how did he go from being surrounded by rednecks to being away from them?
Something's cut.
Someone cut that scene.
Yeah.
Or they just thought that we, the audience, wouldn't care.
Yeah. Okay, so now his body's destroyed. Ving Rhames questions Miles.
Yep.
He says, where'd you get that weapon? Or something like that.
Yep.
Who hired you to use that weapon on the robots?
Ving Rhames has got a huge head of dreadlocks, and he's always holding his hands out in front of himself. Yes. Palms towards his face. Sort of talking.
Yeah. Pontificating.
Pontificating is the word.
But doesn't use religious. He doesn't use Bible.
He does
he's not
little.
speaking. He's not using Bible
But
speak.
he talks
all the
like a
time.
normal person.
Yes, which was also good. Another good change.
It was a good change because I've written in my notes, this prophet is more realistic.
Yes.
But then, why would he care about surrogacy ending so bad? He has his own country after all.
Yeah.
But we do find out why.
We do find out why. But
Even
I
though
will
it's not a
say,
great
he
reveal.
does give reasons that to me were more appealing than just quoting Bible verses. It's like, what Joe's complaining about in the comic. This guy actually speaks in a way that's like, okay, I hear what you're saying about you're losing your humanity by using a surrogate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah. So now Bruce Willis is suspended.
Yep.
Because basically they've gone to war with the reservation.
Well, he wasn't allowed to go into the reservation. No. But also his boss is on the take. Although we don't know this yet.
Yeah.
It comes from nowhere. And in fact, I wondered if... I didn't understand what was going on when that later happened, but...
Yes.
Anyway, his boss has suspended him.
I paused it and turned to Ashton and said, can you please explain what happened?
Yeah.
Because it actually comes from an unreliable source at that point.
Yes, it does. So I didn't think... I thought he was being tricked.
Yeah.
But then it turned out to be true.
It's true, yeah.
That's not how you write your movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's no... It's not really... This is not foreshadowing. He's been suspended because he crashed a fucking helicopter in the Dread Reservation where he's not allowed to go.
And now the res is going to war with the city because...
Well, they're hyped up. They're pretty excited.
Their sovereignty's been violated by this helicopter, a robot attack, effectively. He leaves the hospital, he pulls off the cables in one of those scenes and walks out in his human body.
And he's very anxious.
And he's very anxious. This is also a cool moment, which we don't get in the comic.
Because no one would have been anxious in the comic.
No.
It's implied in the comic that everyone's just going to go back to their jobs, and once the surrogates are destroyed, they're perfectly fine.
Yeah. And
but he's gone from being invincible to being frail human flesh again.
Yes.
And he's very aware of it. People are bumping up against him and he's flinching.
Yes. And so Peters comes up, meets him out there, and there's an interesting line here where she says, "Hi, you look like you're a surrogate. It looks like you."
Yeah.
Well, she's a bit surprised at that because everybody chooses surrogates that are like beauty perfection.
Yep.
And he's actually gone for one that has the kind of same face.
Yep.
They go to this
rental shop. Yeah,
rental shop.
Yeah.
So this is another thing that was kind of missing, where you can just walk into a shop on the street
and buy one.
And they'll
key it to you right away. And it is cheap because it only has sight and hearing.
In fact, I saw a credit at the end that said one of the credits of actors was like 40% off robot or something like that, 40% off surrogate. So like there's some discount ones here.
Yes, that's right.
And they offer him a new one, and they say, oh, we can merge your face. We can mold your face onto it.
And de-age it.
And he says it feels numb. And he says, well, this one only has sight and hearing. And I'm like, wait a second. How can you walk around? How can you pick up a glass? How can you do anything if you don't have feeling?
Oh, it presumably has low-grade tactile sensitivity.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But the only acute senses you get is sight and hearing. Like, he's presumably still able to pick up a can or whatever or something like that. But you don't get to feel the breeze on your skin, and you're probably not going to do the sexing.
Right, yes, okay. Also, around this point in the movie, we learn that there are surrogates for kids. So this is the key plot point of the comic. It does not apply in here. So immediately, the climax is going to be different. They're going to have to find a different motivation for the killer at the end.
Yep.
Because they do have kids' bodies at this stage.
Well, that was always... Yeah, as you say, it has to go a bridge too far at one point. If it's not kids, what's it going to be?
Yep.
We'll see.
Okay, so he goes home, and his wife is there with some friends, and
they're jacking on.
They're jacking. They're electrocuting them.
So it's like, remember that Futurama episode where Bender becomes addicted to abusing electricity?
No.
And it's called jacking on?
Okay. So
one time he's doing it in the bathroom and Leela knocks on the door and goes, Bender, what are you doing? Are you jacking on in there? And he goes, no, don't come in.
But they do call it jacking in this.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, they absolutely call it jacking. I
wrote that down as a joke.
No, they call it jacking.
Ollie's on the way home. There's a poster on a bus stop for extreme football.
Yes.
And the picture is a silhouette of a footballer holding, instead of a ball, the severed head of somebody. And I'm like, I love that. Because of course, you got robots, you're gonna be trashing them in blood sports. That's exactly what you're gonna do. Something, again, conspicuously missing from the comic.
Yeah.
Where people just use them to do their desk, go to the office.
Yes, or what about people that want to be ripped apart?
Yeah.
On purpose. Rip me apart into pieces, or let's have a fight and actually, destroy each other. This will be fun for kicks.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Well, that happens in this scene because Bruce Willis starts beating the shit out of
this was an interesting... So he loses it with one of the... He comes in, he's human, he's very bloody, he's gored up from all the stuff that's been going on to him. He comes home, his wife and her friends are all looking immaculate, of course.
Yep.
But he loses his temper with this guy and starts beating him up. And the guy's laughing.
Yep.
So...
Well, first of all, he's on that electric drug.
He's on the drug.
So not cigarettes. This is a good touch.
It's a good touch.
It's not robots smoking cigarettes and getting a nicotine high that they couldn't possibly get.
Has a specific effect on a surrogate.
Yep.
But
so sending some kind of
does he not feel pain because surrogates don't feel pain, which doesn't make any sense because they feel pleasure, or is it because he's been jacking? It's not clear.
I think it's both. Because he's been jacking, he finds it funny, but also I think when you're a surrogate, you don't feel pain. You don't feel pain, it's implied.
Right.
Because when Willis, in the next scene, Willis goes to the reservation in his own body, and he gets beaten up by the Prophet's thugs, and you can see that he's really suffering because he hasn't been in pain for a while. And Ving, the Prophet, says it feels different, doesn't it?
That's right.
When the pain's real.
You're right.
So presumably they have it dialed down or something when you're in a robot.
Okay, so Peters is at headquarters, and she's digging through the files. These are physical filing cabinets.
Of course. No, you've got
future.
ahead. She's not doing that yet. That comes later.
Okay, fine.
But you're right. Filing cabinets. That was the best you could do.
Paper filing cabinets to go through the accounting records.
That was the best you could do. Paper files. Anyway, so as I said, in the next scene, Bruce Willis goes to the reservation. He's trying to find the gun.
Yeah.
The prototype. Well, he's trying to find what's happened to Strickland, basically. He goes in to talk to the Prophet. They beat him up. The Prophet talks to him anyway. We've got a Pulp Fiction reunion here with Ving Rhames and Bruce Willis.
Maybe not even the first. Anyway, yeah, okay.
And he says, well, I don't know where the gun is. He says, if I have it, I will surely see that it's delivered to your door. Not ominous at all. And then, and then Bruce Willis has a moment where he's wandering around the as you said, the reservation, and it's not all garbage piles and burning tyres, which is what it looked like at first. There's green trees.
There's kids playing.
And everybody, look, it's really hard. It's very harmonious. It's like one of those worlds in Star Trek where everyone's really pastoral and in touch with nature. So we've got old people with grey hair, which we're obviously not seeing in the Ken and Barbie world, and they've got big grins on their faces. They're doing the farming, which is famously backbreaking work and really unpleasant. And then we see kids in the sunshine playing baseball together. And Willis is looking at it and he's smiling. It's like, this is what life should be like. People doing backbreaking physical labour and kids getting sunburned and playing baseball.
Yeah.
Not looking like Barbie and Ken and jacking on.
Yeah.
It's a bit heavy-handed. I wasn't really relating to it. I was saying, why would you, why go outside if you don't have to?
Yeah.
That's where my sympathies lie.
Okay, so you're right about Peter. So Peters is she's killed, actually. Somebody, in a surprise twist,
she's asleep.
Somebody comes into her house and kills her controller, operator,
and then
the human body.
Yes, that's right. So she's
and
dead.
takes over her robot body.
Which shouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't be possible. But he does it. And he's able to watch...
I should have read... It is a giveaway as to who is doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we know, because we've covered it now.
Yeah.
But at the time I thought, wasn't that
Right.
supposed to...
Right.
So there's not good security on these things. Because he watches the playback of her memories, essentially, and he sees her talking to the geek in the basement, and him saying, I can tap into everyone. Everyone in the whole world I can tap into here. All, 6 billion people that are using these surrogates.
Yeah.
And it's like, he gets an idea, like he didn't know that was going on. Well... Peters herself didn't know what was going on.
No.
When she spoke to that character, who I'm going to call Buzz, because he's played by Devin Ratray, the actor that played Buzz in Home Alone.
Oh, right, okay.
It's the same guy.
Right.
She's shocked that he has this ability.
Yes.
And then he sees there's an assault in progress where two simulants or two surrogates are assaulting a woman on a bed, and he says, I'm going to disconnect them. And he goes, just get the warrant. I'm just going to get the warrant. He gets a warrant really quickly. Warrant for disconnect flashes up on his monitor. He disconnects them. They freeze. Yep. Okay. This scene's, I guess, important to establish that from this desk where the fat guy sits, you can affect surrogates out in the wild.
Yep.
But then she says, is that legal?
Yes.
And he goes, it's kind of a grey area. And I'm like, he just got a warrant.
He just got a warrant.
Of course it's fucking legal. Yeah. They don't give warrants for illegal things. Why put that in?
Yeah, I do have questions about the scene, but they'll come up later.
Okay.
Right. So this Peters is not the original Peters operator. This is somebody else that has taken over her body at this stage, right?
This guy who's clearly a robot himself.
Yeah.
He's shot her because he's too perfect, and
yes.
And he's shot her, and then he's touched her chair he's fiddling with her chair, and it says remote access enabled.
Yeah.
Okay. How is that? Whatever. He's hacked it.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll leave aside how you can use a virtual reality chair remotely. Why would it even be set up for that? Why would there be a message that flashes up for a thing that's never happened before? It's impossible. Whatever. He can hack it. So it's not her, but she's running around and she's going through the physical filing cabinet, which don't even exist now, let alone in the future with the robots.
Yeah. It's the next day, and Bruce goes to visit his wife at Rosamund at the beauty salon that she works at.
Yep.
They're still trying to repair this relationship. I do like that this 90-minute movie has given us 3 or 4 scenes of this couple trying to work this out.
It's good.
It's all good material. But then there's a FBI raid on the reservation.
Yeah.
They shoot
for profit.
The prophet, Ving Rhames, and turns out he is a surrogate.
That's so stupid.
Being controlled by Cantor.
That's so dumb that they did that. He's the leader of a national movement.
Yeah.
That's against surrogates, and he was a surrogate all along.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to take away from this? That all of his followers are rubes?
Yes, they didn't realize he was a surrogate.
How would that not come out? They're on the alert for surrogates all the time. He has to charge.
Yes, he does have to charge somewhere, somehow.
You know,
you're right, it doesn't add up. It does make sense that Cantor would use him.
Okay, because it's Cantor. Okay, but
it's Cantor
that's
abusing him.
his puppet, and we find that out straight away.
And he's got several Ving Rhames bodies, actually.
They don't even wait for this reveal. He's shot. We find out he's a surrogate, and the very next scene, cut. It's
Cantor pulling the helmet off. Yeah,
and it's like, why would you tell us that right away? Later on, we get a scene where he has multiple ones. Wait till then to tell us that he was being puppeted, that he was puppeting.
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Instead, they couldn't wait, and also this is why I went back and checked. This means that Cantor, for the last 3 years, has been running a national movement against surrogates, which presumably takes probably 18 hours of every day.
Yeah.
This is a full-time job.
Yep.
For you to run a national movement of which you're the head.
Yes.
How is he having time to do anything else? Talk to his son?
Yes.
Do any of his other shit?
No.
This is why I went back and checked the timeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least it's not 15 like it was in the comic.
Yeah.
But even 3 years is a very long time.
Yes.
And presumably before that, because he had to have been building up the movement before it got to the stage where they were given their own reservations.
Some of these prophet types appear out of nowhere. Cult leaders can sometimes appear out of nowhere.
And also his money. We do
backstory.
find out his money's behind it because he's incredibly rich because he invented surrogates. So he's also been financing which is maybe why it's so nice to live in them, because the billionaire is subsidizing. I mean, they have solar panels.
Yeah.
I mean, they're supposed to be Luddites enjoying the fields, and yet they have solar panels on their buildings. You don't have solar panels without a global system of industry and trade.
Yeah.
You can't be a Luddite and have solar panels.
I don't think they're Luddites. I think they just don't like surrogates.
Yeah.
Because they do have scanners and stuff to scan for
They do.
if surrogates are coming through.
They're
They're not
metal-
anti-tech.
metal
They're just
detectors.
anti-surrogates.
It does feel kind of like they're going for a kind of pastoral message.
The mise en scène looks that way, like the way as you pointed out.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the point where fake Peters tells Greer, Bruce Willis, that Stone is crooked. She's found information in the financial files.
He's been taking bribes.
Yeah. So he shows up at work in his human body. Everybody's like, "Hey man, how you doing?"
And then he just starts acting really sketchy and accusing the director of the FBI, is it? Or someone high up in the FBI, that he's getting ready to parachute into a cushy corporate job at VSI. Has he been enjoying the handouts, etc., etc.? And then this guy, he's called Stones, invites him into his office. Incidentally, Stone's played by an incredibly gorgeous man.
Boris Kodjoe, this man is beautiful. He has such a perfect, symmetrical face and just the smoothest
I
skin.
thought maybe he was CGI'd, but no, that's what he really looks like.
No, when we see his operator, it's like a very obviously fake beard. They've tried to make him look unattractive.
Yeah. No, he was a model. Born in Germany, actually.
Okay.
Which
is he half?
Half German. Well, apparently he's German. His Wikipedia says German-Austrian.
Huh, okay.
I don't know why he's got such a great American accent.
Right, okay, wow. Yeah, he was something else. Anyway, yeah, so he goes into his office, confronts him, as you said.
And then Bruce Willis...
You know what, though? This scene where he comes in and he's joking around with the guys in the office is kind of the one moment of where we don't get stone-faced Bruce Willis in this movie. Because he's a robot or he's a stone-faced cop. We don't get moonlighting Bruce until this
You don't
scene.
get moonlighting Bruce at all in his film career, really, do you?
No.
Not post Die Hard.
No, yeah, not really.
I think people are often surprised when they find out that he used to be a comedian.
Yeah.
A comic actor, I should say. Anyway, he confronts him in the office, and at this moment I was thinking Peters has led him down the garden path.
Yeah.
Stones isn't corrupt. No, he
exactly.
is.
He does turn out exactly.
But from nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the point where I paused and I turned to Ashton and I said, "We can't trust her, right? Because she's being controlled by someone else." And he's like, "Yeah." And we go in there and then, as you said, yeah, he is actually corrupt.
Bruce Willis has also visited the military again. So he's gone back to talk to the military. Incidentally, did the military robot thing pay off?
Well, the military had developed a weapon.
But hang on, but earlier on they visited the military, do you remember, to see the robots shooting one another? I can't remember what the point of that scene was.
I don't know what
it doesn't matter. So he goes to visit the military, and yes, the VSI developed this gun for the military.
Yep.
And it didn't work, though, because they wanted to kill bots, shut down bots, in a quick way. Without in a quicker way than shooting them with bullets, which is how they normally
But turned out it was killing the operators, which is what we saw in the opening scene. Somehow the military doesn't want to kill the operators? This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Don't you want to kill the operators?
It doesn't make sense. And also, I think there's a scene earlier where Willis says, why would the military develop a gun that could use against its own soldiers? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Everyone uses these robots.
Yes.
If the military can kill its own soldiers, good. Because it wants to kill other soldiers as well. There's no difference.
Yes.
Doesn't make sense.
No, it's also, that's like saying, why would you develop a gun? It can kill your own soldiers.
Exactly.
Any gun can kill your own soldiers.
Exactly. It didn't make any sense. So Willis, he confronts the general or whoever. The general doesn't want to tell him. Willis says he knows where the gun is, and presumably he's going to trade the location of the gun for... Because Willis has gone rogue. The army could just ask the FBI this information, but...
And, yes.
But, because Willis is the good guy, anything he does is the right thing to do.
Right.
He needs to hijack a car, he needs to blackmail a general. It's the right thing to do.
By the way, also earlier when Ving was alive, he had given the box with the gun in it to his man, his henchman, and said, take this to the bank and give it to a woman there named Peters.
Yep. So now we know that Peters and the Prophet are working together somehow.
Yeah, linked somehow.
Well, they're both being driven by...
Yes, by Cantor at this stage, yes.
So, we find out that the gun is not an EMP device. It transmits a virus.
Yeah. It's some sort of
This
virus.
isn't quite as bad as the EMP chip, but it's still pretty lame. You don't
Why do you have to shoot a virus out of a gun?
You don't shoot viruses out of guns at people. And it very
Well, you could.
Yeah, but it would take a really long time. You're going to die of the bullet wound before you get... The thing is, this thing fucking fries the robots.
That's
it
right.
It explodes their eyes. You don't need a virus to do that.
Where does a virus go after they've exploded?
There, you don't need the virus. The virus is literally only there to kill the operators. And for the army, that was the bug.
Yes. Yes. Okay, but they need some sort of access codes?
Yeah, it won't work without the access codes.
Oh,
I'm thinking, why doesn't...
okay, so Peters tries to get the access codes out of Bruce Willis, because he's got them somehow?
No, he gets them out of the FBI computer.
Oh, that's right.
The FBI computer tells us two things. This is why Peters has told...
Oh, that's right, he's hacked.
That Stones is crooked.
He's used Stone's, Beautiful Stone's password to get into Stone's computer.
Yeah, which has revealed, first of all, that Cantor is funding the Prophets movement. So the FBI knew this?
Yeah.
That a private citizen was funding an extra-legal organization, and they haven't arrested him?
Okay, yeah.
Why was Stone sitting on this? It's not enough just to say he was crooked.
Yeah.
Then it turns out that he hired Miles Strickland to shoot Cantor, because VSI wanted Cantor out of the way because he's so anti-surrogates now. They want him gone. It's not just enough
This
that he's
whole
sacked.
scene, I didn't understand any... At this point, when we learned that Stone's crooked, from that point on, I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
And the thing is, it doesn't make sense, because VSI developed this gun.
Yeah.
Which means the gun was... They were supposed to destroy all the guns. The military ordered them to destroy the guns. They didn't, obviously. They kept one.
Yeah.
Or they built another one, since they know how.
They have the blueprints, yeah.
So, why do you need the FBI? You don't.
Yeah.
You hire Strickland.
Yeah.
Or you just get in a surrogate and do it. And then dump the surrogate.
Yep. Yep.
So this whole thing is just here to move the plot along and doesn't make any sense.
Yes. It's supposed to be a twist.
But it's not a twist because there was no foreshadowing. He's just he's just evil. It's the stupidest. Yeah. Anyway, and the plans. So the code to turn on the device is in Stones' computer. So now Peters doesn't need Bruce Willis anymore. She calls up the FBI, tells them that he's in her custody. No, she doesn't. Instead of telling them that he's in her custody, which would have been the sensible thing to do, she says he's been in a car accident.
Yes.
And then she crashes the car and gets out.
Well, it seems like a car T-bones them.
Yeah, how did they do that?
How?
Yeah, did she...
I couldn't understand this.
Yeah, how did she set that up? Did she just drive straight into a red light?
I don't know. Yeah, I
Doesn't
don't know.
really make sense. And also, she should have just arrested him. Boom, I arrested him.
Yes.
She's in a robot, and he's Meat Man Bruce Willis. She can just hold him down.
Yes.
But we need her to do this stupid thing so the next scene can happen.
Yeah.
Which is actually an awesome scene, I have to say. Peters, of course, is in a cop body, so she can do all kinds of crazy stuff. She's running up walls, she's jumping on cars. Meanwhile, Bruce Willis who she stupidly left in a car with the keys in the ignition, is now trying to run her down in the car that he was just in an accident in, and it's cool. You know, he keeps collecting robots, and they don't care. They're just like waving at him through the windshield because they don't feel any pain. You know,
yeah, you're right. They don't. Yeah, these ones don't. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's running them down. He's banging into things. It's brilliant. But she gets away.
Yes.
And I think he crashes into a jewelry store and hides among all the deactivated surrogates.
Yeah, he does a little ET move there, like ET hiding in the closet.
Yep.
And then he goes to Cantor. Cantor's like, I'm trying to change back history because we've gone too far. He's trying to undo the damage that he's done. He himself has done.
So meanwhile, and Cantor has sent Peters into the basement with Buzz.
Yeah.
She's locked him up, and he is going to use this console which controls every surrogate in the world. And it's going to, this is really goofy, plug the gun into the mainframe and I guess shoot the gun, and it's going to shoot every robot in the world. Well, I mean, I guess he's transmitting the virus to them.
Yes. But why...
Lucky you can get the virus out of the gun.
Would the FBI of the United States have access to all the robots of every other country?
Nope.
Yeah.
That's why it's dumb.
Yep, it is dumb. So, James Cromwell...
Oh, and the reason why Buzz is in a human body, the sole purpose of that is so that he can be held hostage in this scene.
Yes.
Because the surrogates can't just charge in and deck Peters / Cantor because she has a human hostage, and I guess they're kind of like an Asimov robot.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because Boris Kodjoe's like, Stone is like, damn it! Human hostage, that meat bag.
Yeah.
When he realizes.
Then in the satisfying moment, he gets blown up by the gun and his eyes burst, and his operator dies.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Right. So Cantor's trying to turn back the clock. He says you have to kill the addict to kill the addiction, which is not true.
That's not a thing.
That's not true.
He's going to kill everyone. So he's going to kill everyone in a surrogate.
Yes.
That's 98% of the world.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You've just doomed humanity.
Yeah. That's it. There's no recovering from that.
That's not the pre-surrogate world. That's the pre-history world.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going... There's going to be what? Less than 1 million humans left or something?
So there's two phases to this. The robots shut down, and then the virus goes out and kills the operators.
No, it's the... Yeah, okay, except it happens in reverse.
Well...
So operators die, and then robots shut down.
Well, what happens is he turns on the system. James Cromwell turns on the system. Now we've got a chance to...
We got a ticking clock. We got a ticking clock. Luckily...
Bruce Willis takes over Peters somehow, right?
Yeah, he uses...
Cantor's headset.
And fine, because Cantor's jailbreaked it.
Yes, that's right.
So it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
He shouldn't be able to do it, but he can because it's this...
he says he's able.
It's his universal adapter that he's got plugged in there. Yeah.
So he stops the virus which kills people from going out.
Yeah. So he puts up with instructions from Buzz, he puts up a firewall so the virus is not going to get into people's brains. Now all he has to do is stop the pulse.
Right.
And everything will be fine and go back to normal.
Yeah.
Except now, Bruce Willis, who's been hating on surrogates...
which will kill surrogates, yeah.
Which is going to shut down the surrogates.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people will... And, Bruce Willis is there thinking about it. He's thinking,
Yeah.
do I want to press yes and stop everyone's surrogates from exploding?
And the tech guy is like...
What the fuck are you doing?
Press the button.
Press that fucking
button.
now.
Save the surrogates.
And Bruce Willis doesn't want to save the surrogates, though. He's been persuaded.
Yes.
He doesn't think everyone wants to die.
There's actually a couple of good scenes, during the movie where he listens to Ving Rhames.
Yep.
And
he's already...
he's coming over to that side.
From the start of the film, he was on that page. So, it's not going to be a surprise to hear that he doesn't press yes, he presses no, and every surrogate in the world is destroyed.
Yes.
Is rendered non-functional. Everyone just falls down. It's a pretty good scene. We just get streets and streets full of people.
Is it though? Because earlier when we stopped the surrogates, they froze in midair. When they stopped that rape, they just freeze where they're standing. This time they fall down. Is that
I guess there's a difference between booting the operator and completely wiping its OS. Whatever. I don't know why I'm defending this fucking movie. Sorry, Kumar. Anyway, so this is presented as good.
Yes.
Except this isn't like... Okay, Bruce Willis just killed people, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Anyone that
these cars are crashing. We don't see it, but I'm assuming airplanes are going to fall out of the sky onto people, onto apartments where people are in their rooms operating.
Doctors doing surgery, bam, that person's dead. Anyone performing a vital job that requires attention or reaction, they're dead.
Yeah.
And the people that they will look after is dead. This is not heartwarming like in WALL-E when the big fat guy turned off the navigator.
Yeah.
And it was a triumph for humanity. Bruce Willis just straight up killed people.
Yes. Well, I think the VO tells us that people are okay, and only the surrogates. In fact, there's a funny line in the VO at the news report at the end where they're like, no people were harmed.
And then we see, Bruce Willis, we see all these people, and it's like they're emerging from their cocoons. Or they're stepping out of Plato's cave or something.
They are stepping out of lockdown.
And these people know what sunlight looks like, but, like what the outdoors is, because they're out there constantly in their robots, but they're all working out in bathrobes and looking around going, wow!
Yes, they're getting the same sensations from their surrogates and have been.
Bruce Willis, a guy that hated surrogates, could barely handle being outside, not in it. These people are not going to be stepping out their door and reacting with pleasure and wonder. They're going to be fucking terrified.
That's true. Actually, that's an interesting thing about the anxiety, because it means that your experience in the surrogate is different from your experience walking around, which means it's not a perfect surrogate. As we said, they don't feel pain.
It's probably more a mental thing. Like you've secured, like walking around without your clothes or something.
Yes, okay.
So it's a horrifying.
That makes sense.
And then Bruce Willis goes back to his flat, and his wife is there with all her pills.
She hasn't killed herself. Thank God.
She didn't kill herself, which is good. So they embrace. And it's for the first time in a long time, because she wouldn't see him without a surrogate. And it's implied by that this is a happy ending.
Yeah.
And I just wrote down, enjoy embracing your wife for 5 minutes, Bruce Willis, because you are going to jail.
Yeah.
You're going straight to jail. Not only did he kill people, but he caused billions of dollars of damage.
Yep.
He's probably destroyed the economy.
Yep. Worldwide.
The world
Because
economy.
the news tells us that the same is happening in Paris, Beijing, etc.
Do you think people are going to go back to their jobs the next day? The job that they've been doing with their surrogate? Do you think the guy in his military robot is... what about... If you're a farmer or something, you're using a farming robot, right? That can do the work of 10 men. Are you going to go out and do that yourself? You probably got rid of... Bruce Willis is shocked to see a horse in one scene. There's no beasts of burdens. Bruce Willis has just ruined everything.
You know what? I think I'm starting to see what the part of the problem here is, which is that the movie is saying it's better to be a human than to be a surrogate. And if you destroy all the surrogates, it's better because we're back to being human. That is fine. But the problem is that's not a problem we have. Even if you're using a fake name on Facebook or you're playing World of Warcraft all day, this is not a problem that we'll have. And the way that surrogates are presented in the world of this movie and this comic, I don't think anyone in the real world would want to operate a surrogate like that and just go to work for 8 hours, come home, not get any exercise in their real body.
Yeah.
They have to use a toilet, by the way, which means they are having sensations in their human bodies while they're operating the surrogates. They can feel the urge to use the toilet.
Yeah, how do you process that?
So you're getting double sensations.
Yeah.
This is in both the movie and the comic.
Yeah.
This surrogate problem is not one that humanity will ever have. I don't ever see us at a stage where everybody is completely like, I'm checking out completely.
For me, it's different. I think it could happen. I mean, 98% of humanity, probably not. But I think it could happen. And it's been explored in stories before. Have you ever read The Machine Stops?
No.
That's one about a far future where everyone's just... I mean, this pops up where everyone's like in a room and no one understands how technology works anymore.
Right.
And they all talk over video conferencing. It was written in like the 20s. And, I think it's common in... I mean, WALL-E's another example. There's this warning that technology is going to vicariously replace all your experiences.
Yes.
The thing is, I don't get from this film that it's a bad thing. The film wants me to get it by showing me idyllic farming scenes and kids playing, but kids are playing... Your surrogate, it feels everything and you don't feel pain. I'm just not... And people aren't gross, fat blobs. Sure, they look rough.
Yeah.
They're not getting vitamin D, they're not shaving. They look pretty... But the film's not doing the work to persuade me that this is a problem.
Yeah, no. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I mean, Rosamund Pike is not unattractive because she's got a scar.
She's supposed to be hideous and she's still really beautiful. She just has grey hair and a scar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get a different actor or something. I mean,
Yes, they should have done that more. Like, I think that would have... I think it might have been confusing, maybe, and that's why they decided not to go in that direction.
they didn't think we would get it if they didn't look exactly like their surrogates.
Yeah.
So that's where I think the movie falls apart a bit. I was never persuaded that this was the world-ending problem that Bruce Willis seemed to think it was, where grinding the global economy to a halt and causing the deaths of probably thousands of people was preferable to this situation going on one more day. It didn't... I wasn't persuaded by that.
Right. Well...
I suppose in that, the comic, I think by having it localized in just one city, the comic's shit. But I suppose it was a bit more. But and it was the plot of a madman in the comic. Where here Willis is he's like a regular guy, and he made this choice on behalf of everyone in the world.
Yes, but he did. Look, he saved 98% of the population.
He did. But then
and then there was a price.
But then he doomed them to an existence, to a depression and a terrible, terrible next few years.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Okay, what's our trivia on this one?
I don't have a lot. So as you mentioned, the budget of the film was this film's Vanity. I didn't even know this film existed.
Right.
And the Wikipedia article, all of the sources for it were all published before 2009. It's all just reports on Bruce Willis has been hired for an upcoming project. Anyway, budget, as you mentioned, $80 million, which is pretty dear. Box office, $122.4 million worldwide. That is not a good result. That's a flop.
Yeah, because the marketing would have been another $80 million or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Who knows? I don't know if that figure included marketing or not. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But a flop. Yeah. Definitely. How did it come about? So there's not a big time difference between the comic coming out and the film coming out. I think what's happened is someone's come across the comic. This is often the story. In this case, it's the actor Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, I saw her name in the credits. Yeah.
So she also produces films. She owns a production company called Brownstone Productions, which is responsible for such classics as the Pitch Perfect series and Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, she directed that as well.
Her production company brokered Disney's purchase of the rights to the film in 2007. So this is a Disney film, Touchstone. But her company is involved, and she was a producer on it. So she kind of arranged it. Then, Mostow was attached, sort of late 2006. Willis was attached, late 2007, sorry. Mostow's attached to mid-2007. Willis is attached late 2007. Filming starts in 2008, almost entirely in the state of Massachusetts. The film was not pre-screened for critics. Anyway, one more thing. I mentioned how I did find a review... No, not a review. A piece of news about the film being produced. Okay. So this is in March 14th, 2007, in an article in Vanity entitled Disney Wins Rights for Surrogates. And there's just a few fun quotes from this.
Wait, is this Vanity Fair or Variety?
Vanity Fair.
Okay.
Disney has acquired rights to the graphic novel The Surrogates and will develop it into a sci-fi thriller that Jonathan Mostow will direct. Michael Ferris and John Brancato will write. The trio last teamed up on Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, as we established. Brancato, one of the writers, said, "This is a Philip K. Dick-like futuristic universe."
Okay.
Meaning, I watched Blade Runner once. But people who live a second life already on the internet can relate to some of the themes here. One of the producers says, "This is a grounded sci-fi premise, but there are big effects. And it's clear from 300 that people want to see different kinds of things, and this falls into that category."
Different kinds of things.
Do they mean things based on comics?
Just things.
Or effects-heavy movies? Different kinds of things. What? A film that's about something...
What a thing to say. Things.
I know. Mostow will develop the project while he continues to write Submariner, an adaptation of the Marvel Comics character for Universal. Yeah.
Well, so it wasn't a Marvel movie of the Submariner.
No, this is pre-Iron Man. Iron Man's 2007.
Oh, 2008.
Right, 2008.
And this movie comes out 2009.
So this article came out 2007.
Right. So, interesting.
There you go, Jonathan Mostow working on a Submariner film. The elusive Submariner film.
Wasn't he the villain in Black Panther 2?
Oh yeah, he did finally appear, didn't he? It'd been better if he just remained in the ether. Anyway, that's all aside from... No, that's pretty much all I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, votes time.
Okay, comic, this is an A for me. I don't like the art. I don't like the plot. I especially really don't like the world building, as we've established ad nauseum.
I don't like the plot. I don't like the world building, and I don't... Because it's not all there. It hasn't been thought through really completely.
I think...
Probably 5 issues is not enough. Probably needed, 30.
Seldomly have I read a sci-fi... A science fiction story that puts so little thought into the
It's kind of... No, I think he's kind of thought...
No, he's thought of a few
some
things.
of it,
what if I
but hasn't really taken it far enough.
That's what I mean. When Roger Zelazny wrote Lord of Light, or when he was inspired to write it, he was shaving and he cut himself. And he thought, wouldn't it be great if I could jump into a body where I didn't have this cut? And from that experience, he wrote Lord of Light, one of the best science fiction novels ever written.
What about Time Out of Joint, where Philip K. Dick went to turn on that light by pulling the light, the string, and there had never been a string on that light before. And he was like, I must be being mind controlled from an alternate dimension, and wrote Time Out of Joint entirely based on...
Philip K. Dick is...
Looking for that light switch.
He's not your baseline. He can't be your baseline for this kind of... Anyway, but, so what the author of the comic's apparently done is, what if I could... I should quit smoking, but what if I could keep smoking and not get lung cancer?
I'm not that cynical about it. I mean, I don't like the comic, but I do think he was like, oh yeah, this would happen with the gender stuff, and this would happen with the racism and stuff, but I just think he just hasn't gone far enough with it, and I think 5 issues was not
utterly shallow, I think.
It does turn out shallow, but I'm not...
Mind-boggling little thought.
I'm not hostile.
As I said, with the Lord of Light, there are similar books, similar concepts to this. People are probably aware of Altered Carbon.
Yes.
Which was made into, I think, a Netflix series.
Yes.
That's one... I mean, in the world of Altered Carbon, you can move from body to body, and it's had a colossal kind of ripple effect on every aspect of human behaviour.
Yeah.
An even better book is Killing People by David Brin, where you can put your mind in multiple robots every day.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they give their experiences back to you.
Right.
And most people don't work in the world of killing people, because if you're good at a job, you can do it if you're a good waiter, you can send your simulacra out to work in 100 restaurants. And no one else will work in those restaurants, just you, because you're the best waiter around. So most people just don't work.
Right.
They're just on the dole.
Right.
They get a certain amount of these robots.
Right.
But they're actually not robots, they're clay, man. They're clay. They're made of clay.
Right.
Hence killing people.
Right.
But that book is fantastic, and the world that Brin has written is it's even better than Altered Carbon. In the depth of the kind of colossal effect that this kind of technology would have on human society is explored to a really fun and creative degree, not just whatever it is in this comic, which is the most shallow thing imaginable.
I will say, I just think Brett Weldele is just not the right artist for this comic.
Right.
I think on another comic he'd probably do a pretty good job.
Sure. And if he had more time, presumably.
Yes. Yeah. I don't have anything.
Yeah, the art doesn't suit the medium, does it?
It's just not right for this particular.
This is a sci-fi story, and
that really needs a specific look to people and things like that.
So people's appearance is such an important part of it.
Exactly.
Like in the film, where appearance is very obvious and quite jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yep. Nay, film?
Nay, but I've been up and down on this. So I saw the movie first, probably about 5 years ago, read the comic this week, watched the movie again yesterday, and I have been up and down on it. I think it's as a popcorn movie, it's kind of functional, but since we've been talking, I've gone down on it again.
Yeah.
So I was kind of up in the 3 out of 5 range yesterday, and now I'm down to 2 or 2.5. It's I mean, if you're going to watch a Bruce Willis science fiction movie, you've got Fifth Element, 12 Monkeys, Looper.
Yeah.
You got a lot of choices that are a lot better than this one, which is
genre, like The Sixth Sense.
You know what? This reminded me of when Arnold's science fiction movies started to become disposable, like Sixth Day, in the 90s, where he's doing these genre films that nobody cares about. This is kind of at that level. 10 years later,
I completely agree with you.
If this was out in the 90s, if this was like Time Cop and JCVD was in it, it might be something different, kookier.
I think you'd love this more if it were a B movie.
I agree. I think so.
If it wasn't trying so hard.
Yeah. And then because it's trying hard, but it's not. There's all these holes in it, right?
Yeah,
there's all these problems
sloppy,
with it,
yeah.
despite the fact that it's this huge Disney production.
Yeah. I'm also nay. Again, so everything you said, and also the bad science.
Yeah.
and the effects, like the creepy. I mean, it's of the time.
Yeah.
But the kind of like bad CGI and de-aging and that sort of thing. Although I did like Bruce Willis' performance, like you, I found a great quote from a review of the film, which is, Bruce Willis has a certain undeniable gift for playing lonely, isolated men lost in a world gone mad.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Adaptation. This one is a big yay for me. It's improvements all around. I enjoyed the movie much more than the comic. It was because the comic is trading in cliches. It's trying to be this hard-boiled cop thing, and the movie's so strange and colorful and odd, and it's much improved, despite the fact that I still can't give it a full-throated recommendation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I agree with what you said. And for me, what my biggest critique of the comic is the shallow world building.
Yeah.
Here, it's not gone. It's gone a step further.
Yes.
It's gone a step further. So instead of robots just all being the same, we've got military ones, we've got cop ones. People have multiple robots, not just one.
Yeah.
Robots, like the FBI gives you your surrogate.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? I assume.
Yes.
Unlike in the comic, where you had to bring your private property to work.
Yeah.
And operate it. The Bureau provides you with.
I'll tell you another thing this movie does right versus the comic is it front loads all of your world building in that montage over the opening credits too fast for you to process. Whereas when you're reading those text pages, you're going, wait a minute.
Hang on, this doesn't quite work.
What about this and this?
You're right.
Whereas in the movie, it's all stupid, but it's
really
too
quick.
fast.
That's why you got to do it.
Can't.
So you don't want to tell people about your satellites and your mainframes. You start thinking, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Extreme football.
Yes.
Jacking on.
Yeah.
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 So yes, for me it's also yay. And I think this is that's our rarest vote combination is nay, nay, yay.
Yeah, it really is.
It's pretty unusual.
I'm trying to think of another one.
There's been one or two.
Okay.
We've done 100 now.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one of the very rarest vote combos.
Yeah.
That's a yay for me.
Okay, please like, rate, review, subscribe. Please DM us either through Facebook or Instagram or Blue Sky. All those links are in the show notes. Easiest way to get in contact is through the email address, which is also in the show notes. Please join our Patreon at patreon.com/comicbookmovieoblivion. As we mentioned last week, I haven't gotten any suggestions about what the rewards could be, but I am starting to think that those cheat episodes could be a good idea. So
fantastic.
We might start getting some bonus episodes that maybe will come out like a month or a year later on the regular feed.
Cool.
That's a possibility.
Get them while they're hot, everybody.
Yeah. Okay, next week we will be going back to Fantastic Four. We're going to do the 2005 one directed by Tim Story. And
it'll be a week of Tim's, because we'll have Tim back.
That's right.
On the
It will
podcast.
be a Deconstructing Comics crossover again. We're going to read 2 issues. Hang on. Or I did have 2 or 3 issues in mind. So 247 and 258. These are both Doctor Doom issues by John Byrne. So we're skipping past Kirby. We'll come back to Kirby when we do the Galactus episode the week after.
Cool.
Or the episode after.
The next time we do
next
this.
time.
Yeah.
So for now, because I think I think John Byrne had a couple of good like Doctor Doom issues. So we'll read those 2, and also Marvel Fanfare number 15, which is I'm just throwing in there because it's my favorite Fantastic Four story. You can, if you want to read those, you can find them anywhere on those illegal sites where you can read comics or wherever. I don't know if they've really reprinted that run of John Byrne Fantastic. I'm sure they have, but I don't know how available they are.
Comic Book Oblivion does not condorse piracy.
Yes. Although sometimes we do.
No, we really do.
Are so obscure. Movies or comics that are so obscure and hard to find that it has happened. I have had to endorse it a few times.
Yeah.
I think that's probably enough of a tee up for that.
It sure is.
So,